That's their goal. Okay, and letting too many people in the mix, sharing too many resources with others, even though those resources might be, beneficial to and spill back, have effects, positive effects on the economic growth of Team White. It could also displace Team White's power, and in terms of power dynamic. So sometimes what I've learned is that other groups who are not as scarcity minded, they will sacrifice what we look at as financial gain to maintain their power that they have worked so hard and tirelessly and hell recklessly, you can call it all types of things, unscrupulously to gain.
So put in the chat that money is power. I don't agree. I think money is purchasing power, right? Like you could buy some shit, but obviously with the money that black folks consume and those numbers, we ain't gonna, let's please not start quoting off the numbers. We know what the numbers are, what our buying power is. It don't equate to no political power. It don't equate to no.
Not unless you convert it. You can convert money to power.
Hold on. On a lot of things, it has not manifested in real political power, real knowledge, real understanding on how to get things done. That's where the power is in people who have knowledge of self, the people who have the ability to put together projects and move things. And like those are the people that are in power. Most of the people in this America, a lot of people in America, y'all know we have a large segment of Americans that are just not bright, right? And so people who are not bright, people who ain't in touch with their cognitive, et cetera, are the most vulnerable and easiest group of people to manipulate. This is a fact. Like when you don't know shit, people could just tell you shit, and you just gonna go on. That's what's going on in America. So yeah.
I don't think it's the lack of intelligence. I think it's the lack of the knowledge of how power works. Because black people are amongst the most intelligent and innovative people in the world, specifically black Americans. Okay, but at the end of the day, also some of the greatest in terms of being disenfranchised. The thing is, there's a lack of understanding of how power works. And that money, even though black Americans are considered to have, the greatest spending power, buying power, whatever you want to call it, out of all other black groups around the world, black Americans we have not been able to convert that power successfully. What we do is we go for the quick wins. Oh, let me go get that new BMW. Oh, let me go get those Jordans or those Louboutins. Oh, let me get that fancy house. Oh, let me go get another degree at a fancy institution. Because we will settle for that individual, that quick little bit of power that we think we get. People are going to look at me and they're going to know that I'm somebody. But we don't, as a collective, organize. We don't have the lobbyist groups on our side. Like we don't have our own groups to go out and really lobby for causes that are near and dear to us. We don't gatekeep. We don't practice nepotism. We're not even in positions to help other people, other minorities, and so it leaves us to be the most disrespected.
I can't be mad at those groups. You might not be part of those groups, but a lot of us are. So it's like when you're saying these things, it sounds weird because it's like a lot of us are in these spaces, and we are, collectively organizing and pushing the things that we want to at a local level, at a state level.
Are you Black American?
Yes.
I'm not.
Okay, I'm only speaking for Black Americans. That's all I'm speaking for. I don't know about everybody else.
But a lot of people
Kim, you better cut it out.
Black American.
With your white ass.
Yeah, so
my daddy's black.
Let me say this to you.
My daddy's black. That makes me black. That's what they say.
You better stop, Kim.
So, sister, let me tell you something. Sin is impacting lives, right? Well, like sin is having an impact on all types of lives here in New York, right? So am I. So the work that we do, we're doing what we got to do. That's number one. And you and I agree on certain things. Yet when you came in, you just chose us. So I said, push it and go. It's not that why wouldn't you add on to it? Like we're not against each other, and we shouldn't be having a communication where we trying to prove one person's point is more valid than the other. Like you started that way. And you're being disrespectful to people who are actually doing the work. So please don't say, I agree with you about the overall buying attitudes and how we approach consumerism and all that, right? but people are out here doing the work. So please don't say we're not. Say that you are not. Right? Tell us what you. Okay, wait. Tell us what you are doing. Me and Sin don't have to go back and forth because she looks out for me, and I would look out for her. Right? In that regard of what our impact is, she's having an impact, and I won't let that statement that you make just go without responding to it. People are out here doing the work.
Okay, I'm not denying that. I'm only speaking from my perspective on Black Americans. I think that Black Americans have a lot to learn from other minority groups because they've come in and in less time have done more. Now, it's funny the people that are in the chat that are coming for me. Well, let me just say this. It's the people in the chat coming for me talking about I'm a broke N-word and all this stuff. These are people, that's very same people who only their whole identity is wrapped up in their fraternity and sorority. Miss Renita, Kappa Alpha Psi, and Mr. Fishbelly, Masonic. Okay, y'all are part of the problem. That's what I mean about the little quick, cheap power grab. Instead of helping out your community overall, you're like, well, I'm good. I got my little clique, and we all look out for each other. We all got jobs. We all paid. That's what I'm saying.
Do you live
and
with
you got something to say, you come up on stage.
Do you live with Asians? Do you live with Spanish people? Do you live with Polish people? Do you live with other, have you spent years of your life living in those communities? I'm curious.
My mother's Puerto Rican, so I see the difference in the way Latin Americans should be.
Listen,
you got
something is weird.
She went from black to white to mixed to Puerto Rican. Oh my God.
Something is weird. Okay, Mel. I'm trying to go ahead now.
Kimberly, you better stop, Kimberly.
Yeah, wait.
Are you black? One second, Robert. Are you black or Puerto Rican?
My mom is Puerto Rican.
Then why did you switch?
I speak Spanish.
What is
What's
she?
your fault? What is your
Keeps
fault?
what is she? Why she?
Right now, she just claimed her daddy black, her mother's Puerto Rican. Other times, she claims she white, okay? And she has her name Kim on her first account, bashing black people.
Whoa.
Now, she don't know what she is. She confused us.
Everybody call me white, and I told them even in real life, people look at me as Puerto Rican. They don't see me as white until I correct them and say I'm black.
Texture of your voice sounds like that of a Caucasian person. Yeah, you sound Caucasian.
See, you be missing it. Can you give me that math again, please, ma'am?
My mother is Puerto Rican. She's a white Puerto Rican. My dad he's black, but he's a light-skinned black dude. I look like I'm Puerto Rican. Nobody's ever guessed it. No one has ever confused me for a white person, other than on the app based on my voice. In person, people think I'm biracial or they think I'm Hispanic, point blank. And I identify as black.
Great.
And it's Santos, your last name?
Wow.
That's my mother's maiden name.
Chat and Mel are too quiet right now. This is
You hear me thinking, Dupree?
Yeah, because she is daddy black, so she knew to come off the mic and say, yes, that's my mom's maiden name, because I was about to check her ass. Really? So your father didn't recognize you because you are the...
No, he recognized me.
There's a first time for everything. I've never met a
And my mom has always told me I was black.
Puerto Rican.
My mom has always told me I was black, because she's the only one in her family that got with a black guy.
My mom tells me I'm black.
Kim, you remember you told me that you got a nose job so that it could align with your wig?
I did get a nose job. Because my nose was one of the things I was very insecure about. I wanted to look like my Puerto Rican cousins who had the cute, feet.
She told me season 1 that she got a nose job so it could align with her wig. That's what she told me.
I know you
You're
lying.
talking but down the
Yes.
No. What are we
I
doing?
used to be really ashamed of my black features. I did. I was very ashamed of my black features. My mom always told me I was beautiful, but I wanted to look like her. My mom always told me I was beautiful, but I wanted to look like
She
her.
said it to me.
Wait.
Yeah, I did get a nose job.
Let me ask you a question. Why are you talking bad about Jordan but getting nose job?
Because I did not like my black features. I didn't think that I looked good. I thought it made me look masculine.
But why not get on the stage?
Slow down. Slow down. I'm not slowing down. She said she didn't like her black features.
Wow. That's wow. Well, I'm a man.
I've done a lot of
myself from
self-work
the
since
conversation.
So
I'm a
today,
man.
do
I'm
you
pretty sure.
embrace the part of you that is black? Do you embrace that?
Yes, I do. But
She
I
said
have been a
ChatGPT
victim of
is her-
futurism.
She said ChatGPT is her therapist, so she's worked on herself.
You think that black people have something to learn from other races?
Yes. My father's side of the family is so disjointed, it's not even funny. I'm not saying my mom's side is perfect, but I have learned about community from her side of the family. And it's really sad. I see the impacts of, I guess, systemic racism and everything in America. One of the goals is to keep us divided. And I think a lot of us are victims of that. Now, there's some people who find their groups. So, again, I'm not mad at y'all that's part of the AKAs and the fraternities and all that stuff, but you have to realize that you're not, you're the exception, not the rule.
You only speak in stereotype and phenotype. That's the only language that you understand. And it's weird that you can throw a blanket statement like that when you that isn't even your experience, when you actually have the honor to be in community with black folks. That is an honor. Let me tell you about black people. The most peaceful people I know are black folks. You know why? Because we ain't burned this son of a bitch up a long time ago. Because we could have. Systemically, we are consistently starting behind the starting line, and yet we still manage to succeed. We don't have the barriers of entry that other races have, and yet we still succeed. We don't have a whole system on our backs that works against us, including the medical field. That nose job, I bet if they saw you as black and you had some pain, they would question you. Regardless if you acknowledge the black that is within you, society sees that, and they would treat you as such. So the fact that you look at black people the way that you do shows us, including with the nose job that you got, that you have a problem with yourself. And so the work that needs to be done, and I say this in love, is to do some researching on the black part of your family, because there should be some pride there. Because black people are some of the most loving, empathetic people I've ever met in my life. Because we haven't conquered nations. We haven't put blankets full of smallpox on an entire race of people to kill them off. We also haven't killed their only means of food sources. We also haven't taken over countries. We also didn't put people on ships in the millions and sent them over to a country that they didn't know to tell them that they were less than. We also have never created a law that told people that you were only 1/5 of a person, 3/5 of a person. All of the things that have been done to us, and yet and still we are here, there should be a level of pride that you have, because that resilience in black folks is in you. So I suggest that you look more into the black parts of you, get an understanding, and have some pride, because you're actually missing out on an amazing part of who you are by talking the way that you do. And I'm done.
I completely agree with you. That was many years ago that I got the nose job. I went to Columbia and I got it done. And yeah, I did. I was a fan of wigs. And it just, again, my whole look did not come together right. That's one thing that most people who are mixed race know, that some of us don't come out, like the features don't always go together. I always was jealous of my Puerto Rican cousins, the ones that were full Puerto Rican. I was always jealous of their cute features. And I realized that a lot of that was rooted in internalized racism and self-hatred, anti-blackness. But at the end of the day, I've worked through it, and I'm working through it.
That's all I ask is that you work through it, because it's beautiful over here. It is beautiful over here. I'm telling you. Like, think about it. Think about all the things around the world that have been done to black folks, and yet we're still here. Think about that.
I love my broad nose. I don't
have
my shit could have. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. My shit could have went loose. I'm glad it stopped. Like, where it stopped at. Let's be clear. I'm glad it has a nice shape. Well, that was a close call. But I am proud of my broad nose. I feel like the king of Zumunda. Like, I love my African black large nose. I love it. I'm sorry, I was just venting, but go ahead.
I want to share something else that might help too a little bit. And sister, I hope this helps for you as well too. A lot of times, and I'm not saying that college is the way of learning something, but sometimes as Black people, we need to learn how our people have experienced things maybe in different parts of the country or in different families. Our families are usually the first level of how we learn about our Blackness and our culture. But, when we get to those ages when we start striking out on our own, we get to learn a little, hopefully I would think, you would meet people, Black people from different parts of the country, Black people from different parts of the diaspora. And as you talk to them, you get a little bit of a better sense of, what not only what we've gone through culturally or even knowing where to go. For me, growing up in Gary, I always understood white flight, at least from Gary's perspective. But then when I met people from Detroit, I understood the politics around that, which tells me a little bit about the people around that. And different places where I would go, I would learn bit by bit by bit. Sometimes that helps you out in discovering who you are, because then you start figuring out, to the comment of, well, this is what I think Black people can do. You start figuring out what has been done, and also and maybe appreciate what people are trying to do as well too. And sometimes it can also be a help to you in certain situations. I have a buddy of mine, and we still laugh about this day. This happened about 30 years ago, so keep it in mind. He had a recruiter that was trying very hard to get him to move to Martinsville, Indiana. And I remember I was at Ford. He called me. He said, Pierre, this recruiter is telling me about some suburb in Indianapolis called Martinsville. I hadn't heard of it. The significance of this is that Martinsville is a very well-known racist part of it's in southern Indiana, and outside of anything Bloomington normal. At least it's a little bit better now, but southern Indiana is racist as hell. Used to be the Klan capital literally in 1930s, 1940s, and he still had a generation that lived about it. Make a long story short, the recruiter was trying to convince him to live in Martinsville, which is about an hour out from Indianapolis. This is like telling somebody that Toledo is a suburb of Detroit, or that Milwaukee is a suburb of Chicago. But they were trying to do it because they wanted to call me. If I had not expressed that to him, this is what's going, this is what happens in Indiana, don't take the job. He probably would have taken, I'm not going to say he would have taken the job, but it would have been likely that he would have. So I say all this to say, learn from other people about what their perspective is about being Black. And I mean from everybody, whether they are in a frat sorority, whether they're in a church, or something broader in a diaspora. And each little bit will inform you a lot more, and it really will inform you a lot more about what we are as a people and what things are about as well too. So I hope that helps.
Do we have silence now? We got silence.
I feel like every time I talk, it
No, it's cool.
I feel bad.
You know what it is. The reason why I didn't get involved in that last exchange because I think men should be aware of, like, when you go through a back and forth with women, and I just never want to be that guy, because it just, you can have a small debate, but I think when you get into looks and noses and all of that kind of thing, I don't think that's the proper space for a man to be in, engaging with a woman like that. That's just the shit. That's just how I stand on that. Like, so I know I have women in here that are, we reflect the same mindset, and so I will always allow women to deal with women. And I guess this message is for the guys in the room, not the women. But we got to stop that gossip shit and all of that, and we got to chill. We gotta chill sometime, and so
I'm the most gossipy person family.
I'm not. One thing I'm not is gossipy.
You be gossipy and over talking. What are we talking about?
What do I? Brian, hold on, Brian. Maybe I could be long-winded. I could be long-winded.
I don't know if you're saying nothing, but I have to address it because
Brian. Yeah, I could be be a little wordy. I'm working on it. I could be a little long-winded. I accept that. That is my thing, and I'm learning to be less words. I'm learning. But one thing I'm not is a fucking gossiper bee. Like, ain't anybody will tell you that I don't do that gossip shit.
Did you feel, Robert? You didn't feel I was trying to gossip, were you?
No, Pierre, not at all. Nah, bro, that wasn't directed at you. Yeah, no.
He's belaboring.
I was just taking a moment just to acknowledge a moment. That's all. That's all I was doing. And Brian, yeah, baby, I don't gossip, bro. Like,
Robert,
we debate about politics.
There were two men talking, me and Pierre. Who are we doing? I mean,
man.
Look at who was talking. You didn't
like
say
talking and gossiping are two different.
Robert, let me finish. You didn't say like at times. You specifically mentioned this conversation. Two men were talking. I talked a little bit. Pierre talked some. That was it, to my understanding. So what are we talking about?
No. I wasn't addressing that to anybody. I wasn't addressing that to you or him. It was just a thought that was being expressed out loud. That's all it is. If I'm gonna direct something at anybody, believe me, I'm gonna put your name on it. But no, that was no shot at you guys. That was no sub, none of that. But thank you, Brian. You probably thought I was. Yeah, no, not that Pierre, Brian. No.
I hear you, Rob.
My bag.
No, but that is also a fair point. But it's all, but the good thing about social audio is that you hear people's voices and you can tell when somebody's just talking to. That's the good thing too, as well. So.
Do y'all think that what's been happening, with the left, do y'all think, like the silencing and all of that, do y'all think that Democrats will be petty and do the same thing when they are in leadership?
I hope so. Me too. I hope we grow some balls and be like, all right, it's find out season,
I'm sorry, I missed the question. Ouch.
Oh, I said with all the attacks and everything that the left has been doing. I'm sorry, the right has been doing. Do you think Democrats will step into that petty bag and do the same thing to them, or you think they're going to do this whole we're better than that and we're here for the people in the country and we're not like them? Do you think that they will be petty?
I think they're going to be smarter. I think I say my tag phrase is don't be baited, be better. And when I say be better, I don't mean don't fight, I'm not saying be on some punk shit. I'm not saying that. But obviously, they are grossly ineffective at combating the onslaught of what the MAGA has put on them. Like, they just was totally caught off guard. We don't know how it was possible, but I think that they're mounting an effort. I'm gonna give them, I'm thinking people are gonna move smarter going forward. Let's hope so.
I think with Gavin Newsom speaking out, I think we will be a little bit more aggressive. It's going to take another person or two to kind of really make it into a movement. Yeah, with Gavin, I think I understand that a little bit. Look, I agree. The Democratic Party, I think, is always going to want to uphold the right ideals because, quite frankly, that is to a certain level, it's brought some people to the tent to some degree. But at the same time, it's Gavin has proven with the whole thing with the redistricting, it's to a point now where they're going to be forced to kind of hit back. It's kind of we've passed that Rocky lost to Clubber Lang episode of the for the Democrats, and now we're in the we gotta get ready for the fight at some level. Because otherwise we don't win the title back if we don't start swinging.
I was going to say, they're counting on us not doing it, right? What California is doing is not a surprise. It's literally what Texas did. And they know that we could do it. I think some of them are like, oh, shoot, they're actually going to do something to fight back. And then the nerve of them to say they're going to take California to court is hysterical, right? To do the exact same thing that Texas is doing.
I just want to say, somebody put in the chat that we don't want another Biden. Be clear. Mr. Biden at the time was the best candidate. He was a placeholder. Like, he was the only person at that time that could possibly win against Mr. Trump. He was a placeholder, and for some reason, Democrats went to sleep after that. Like, how could you not know that this was coming? How could you not plan accordingly? Like, and it's a lesson that I'm sure they've learned, because I knew when he got elected that he was a placeholder, and we took a sigh of relief because we were outside of that toxicity of the presidency, but they fell asleep at the wheel. How the fuck could you not know that he was a placeholder? So we don't have anybody else in the party that we knew. Nobody had a voice. Nobody established themselves. They just literally went to sleep. Meanwhile, Mr. Trump and the MAGA movement have been hard at work. Shit, but they've been working, and the Democrats were sleeping and being nice and being cordial and taking on causes that they shouldn't have been taking off. Instead of digging down, planning, strategizing, they fell asleep at the fucking wheel. So to the person that wrote, "We don't want another Biden," yeah, that moment right there. I agree with you. We don't want another Biden.
Well,
there's no disrespect to him.
I would love another Biden, because while he was asleep, he certainly got a lot of shit done. So this has been the most progressive president we've had in history, maybe besides FDR. So I'd rather have Joe Biden asleep any fucking day of the year than this foolishness. So I don't know what y'all talking about, him being asleep. That man was served as a longtime senator. He had a lot of experience. He was a fucking vice president. And yeah, he pulled out. He's an older guy and everything like that, but he will be known in history as one of the most progressive presidents. So if y'all don't like the Democrats, or if y'all don't like Biden personally, that's fine. That's okay. But he got a lot of shit done, okay? During tough times when we were struggling with COVID.
Yeah, I would also add, I think the other thing to keep in mind is there's two things here with Trump a little bit. First of all, there was money thrown towards him throughout these 4 years. He just, he kept trying to, he was campaigning when he was in that first term. It's an argument for, and I agree with you, Robert, there's work behind it. But at the same time, there's money that was being thrown by Elon Musk, by other folks. And this is and Trump is also unconstitutional. So he's not playing by any rules whatsoever. So it's one of those things where I don't want to see I want to see the Democratic Party organized, but I also don't want to go too far and beat itself up over somebody who, and I think I can never pronounce his last name, but Pete said it best. This is a president, Trump is a president, whether Republican or Democratic, we've never seen someone so unconstitutional, so much into grift, that he's, and so much with enablers that he's brought in. Plus also, to the black vote, for about, the black males who voted for Trump, he's enabled a set of people that really are, they're trying to be opportunists at some level. And I think that that's a lot. So I would say for the Democratic Party, definitely get organized, but make sure that you beat yourself. If you're going to beat yourself up over something, make sure it's for the right thing and the right reasons, not just because this is very, very unusual. But it still has to be fought against. And I think for Democrats, we can make that fight. I just think it's a matter of really, again, thinking next level about who is going to be the party leaders and who can lead us into this, or at least out of this crap, basically. There's an opportunity here, but yeah, they will hit back. Like I said, they will have to hit back, because that's right now, that's all that you got to do. I'll land there.
One of the ways that I think we still underestimate is, Gavin Newsom wanted to balance what Texas did, right? Instead of going full on and getting as many districts as possible, because they should have known that other states can redistrict also, right? That's gonna happen. And so instead of just balancing Texas, they should have been like, all right, it's California, right? We could pull the most districts out of it as much as possible. And they shouldn't have been shocked that the other states are gonna start doing the same thing.
I don't know if they've been shocked. I think it's just come to a head. I think definitely with Texas has got that spotlight because of the with the Democrats walking out. I think it's brought a spotlight to the whole thing. I mean, this has been going on for a while. This whole thing about redistricting. But I think with the state Democrats leaving the state, it seemed a little futile for some folks. But I think part of that was the point of it was to bring attention to that, what's going on. And I think it's at least woke up a lot of people in other states about how much redistricting is on the ballot right now. I think that's a big part of the problem too for us as a nation. We are a lot of the things that we're debating about.
Common also is the reason which commands us what to do and what not to do. If this is so, there is a common law also. If this is so, we are fellow citizens. If this is so, we are members of some political community. If this is so, the world is in a manner a state. For of what other common political community, faculty, and reasoning faculty, and our capacity for law, or whence do they come? For as my earthly part is a portion given to me from certain earth, and that which is watery from another element, and that which is hot and fiery from some peculiar source. For nothing comes out of that which is nothing, as nothing also returns to non-existence. And so also the intellectual part comes from some source. Death is such as generation is, a mystery of nature, composition out of the same elements, and a decomposition into the same, and altogether not a thing of which any man should be ashamed. For it is not contrary to the nature of a reasonable animal, and not contrary to the reason of our constitution. It is natural that these things should be done by such persons. It is a matter of necessity. And if a man will not have it so, he will not allow the fig tree to have juice. Soon, not even your names will be left behind. Take away thy opinion, and then there is taken away the complaint. I have been harmed. Take away the complaint. I have been harmed. And the harm is taken away. That which does not make a man worse than he was, also does not make his life worse, nor does it harm him either from without or from within. The nature of that which is universally useful has been compelled to do this. Consider that everything which happens justly. And if thou observest carefully, thou wilt find it to be so. Do not say only with respect to the continuity, the series of things, but with respect to what is just, and as if it were done by one who assigns to each thing its value. Observe then as thou hast begun, and whatever thou doest, do it in conjunction with this, the being good, and in the sense of which a man is properly understood to be good. Keep to this in every action. Do not have such an opinion of things as he has who does thee wrong, such as he wishes thee to have, but look at them as they are in truth. Man should always have these two rules in readiness. The one, to do only whatever the reason of the ruling and legislating faculty may suggest for the use of men.
And I think, and we saw a lot of people. Stupid ass scenario occurred, or any stupid ass scenario you can contrive. Thank you. Have a nice day.
I just want to say something. No. I asked. Hold on. Everybody done jumped off the mic. Anyway, I was trying to talk to you earlier, Ashley, because I was trying to tell you that arguing with concrete is like you said, because he's going to use the Merriam-Webster definition of consent. He's not going to talk about legal definitions of consent or things about that's not going to work because he's just going to say consent. It just means that the person agreed. It doesn't matter if they agreed under duress. It doesn't matter if they agreed because they're about to drown, as in Necro's example. All that matters is that they agree, right? So it doesn't like the point will not go further than that. So I think we can just like move past because they're just going to agree that, well, you consented, even though I don't understand how that works. Because I just don't believe I don't think humans are property. So I just don't
It's a fun brain exercise.
No. I agree with you.
I'm
saying I agree with
like that's why I enjoy arguing with concrete because you have to think of other ways to come at his arguments because that's why I do enjoy arguing.
No,
with
I'm not saying you can't
and
debating
enjoy
against concrete. I was just gonna say like he's not using the same working definition, right? When we're talking about consent and power dynamics, we're usually talking about like the Fry's model since he wanted to bring up Me Too around consent, but he's not using that definition around like there. And to the power imbalance thing, it's not that all things have to be equal, right? It's just that we have agreed in society.
Get there, Nee.
I can't even get the
opportunity to get there.
Wait, can I just quickly?
I'm so confused.
Can I just quickly say something?
I'm so.
I agree with you. She's not gonna understand. I agree with you.
Hold on.
All right. I'm back. I'm sorry. Every time I try to leave you guys alone to have a conversation by yourselves, it doesn't work out. So, Neek was not. I understand. Someone had a question for Neek, but let Neek land, please. Let her land. After she's done, then guess what? The next person can go, but let her land.
Final point to the idea of like all things don't have to be equal, but I do think that we as a society have agreed to like, not maybe we collectively agreed, but there are rules in place as to when non-consent does occur. And that's usually like between prisoners and COs, between students and teachers, between children and adults, because we realize that there is a limit to how far we're allowing a difference to occur. And that's where the non-consent, like, because we've agreed that can't be consensual, period, even if there's an agreement. Go ahead, Ashley.
So I just want to say I agree with you, Ani. Sorry for interrupting you, but she's absolutely right. With a guy like him, we can push the legal definitions and everything, and this guy just didn't consent. That's when I asked him, okay, when he would bring up like trying to compare me to children and stuff, and I said to him, okay, do you think it's perfectly fine if a 12-year-old says she consents to having an adult with a 30-year-old man? Do you agree? And he refused to answer. Then Nero asked him a similar question. He refused to answer. And him refusing to answer, we already know his mindset then. In a perfect world, he probably wishes that it goes this way, consent, people can do whatever. Because he doesn't want to answer, he just wants to say his point. And it's actually like I don't know how to explain it, to be honest. It's actually mind-boggling.
Yes, but I'm just saying, I don't need training wheels. Like, I want to make my own arguments, and then I'm not allowed to because everybody else tries to put training wheels on me.
No, I'm putting training wheels.
Making my own arguments.
I wasn't putting training wheels.
I want to try it, and he said, we can go back and forth. That's all I wanted was a back and forth to be able to fully flesh out my point, and I can't do that when I have people interrupting every 2 seconds.
She likes, yeah. I mean, just in general, though, it's
but she white people. She don't take negative criticisms, even if they're constructive.
Yeah.
I enjoy the argument. That's all I'm saying. I enjoy the argument. I enjoy the back and forth. I enjoy the back and forth.
That is the thing with you guys.
So I just
no. Let me just say real quick.
I hardly ever interject on the stage. Like I was quiet most of the day. I hadn't hardly said a doggone word, and then I finally said, "Hey, I have a minute. I do want to go back and forth with concrete on this. It is a fun back and forth. It is a good way to exercise the brain."
I was disagreeing with you. You're being defensive.
That's it. Or are women of any other ethnicity?
Yeah. So, Concrete was he said essentially, by his own logic, he would have to, I mean, logically say that there's nothing wrong with, his daughter consenting to be my sex slave for the rest of her life. I mean, because we both consented in the scenario, where basically she had agreed, even if she was desperate after, when she was drowning. And so that's sort of concrete thinks is actually moral. And so if he thinks that that's moral, then that's fine. I don't see how he is, anyone can consider him a moral person.
Yeah, so, Neek, I don't know, you thought Necro was...
That's a good question. I just said to his example.
One second, ma'am. I had to listen to you. To submerge my excellent point by employing a degenerate fucking brain dead white dude. That hurt my heart. Anyway, it's basically if I were to tell you that cars are not inherently immoral, and you're like, what if somebody took that car and rammed down a whole bunch of 12-year-olds? Would you say cars aren't immoral then because the car rammed down the 12-year-olds? That's what he did. It doesn't, invalidate. Stop, Dottie. It doesn't invalidate the argument that cars slavery simplicator is not immoral. Is it here? I'll just clarify. Could it be used in an immoral way? And already granted this. Yes. Is it inherently immoral? No.
Who drives the car? You're talking about putting moral standards. You're talking about putting moral standards to like objects that aren't human. That's why that just doesn't make sense.
Immorality is wickedness. If you're doing wicked shit, wicked behavior, you're immorality. Wicked.
Slavery is
wicked. Like who's driving the car?
Slavery is fucking wicked, homie. If I can group up a bunch of Mexicans and make them move to our homes, I think that's pretty fucking wicked.
So
I would actually.
So according to Concrete, essentially, he thinks that essentially that people have the right to be able to go, and if they have the right to own a car, that's the equivalent of being allowed to go and kill somebody down the street with a car. Concrete, do you not realize you're arguing that people should have the right to, what my scenario, where your daughter could agree to be my sex slave? You're arguing that should be a right, right?
Concrete, my argument would always be that a power imbalance and is always immoral. You cannot consent in that way. So, I mean, it kind of just, it disproves your entire thing that it
What about employer-employee aspect?
That's different than agreeing to be somebody's slave for 7 years or however long.
You use the word always.
Yeah, but it's at will. It's at will, Samoa. It's at any time I could walk off my job and say I quit, and there's nothing they can really do about it, right?
It depends.
They could fire me at any point.
I mean, it depends. But I see the point.
You know, the problem is you won't be able to put food on the table if that happens, so you can't make that decision.
But you could still quit and go to a different job. If you trade your freedom, you do not have that option. So I can't just say, "Oh, I don't like you as my boss." So I know.
So if somebody says I can be your slave, somebody says I can be your slave for 3 days for $1 million. Is that person consenting? Yes or no?
So
not if there's a power imbalance.
I mean, so
$1 million shows you the power imbalance. Yes or no?
Bro, a fucking nigga wasn't being. Why y'all try to question dumbass little girls and shit on stage like I ain't on here, bro? A fucking slave ain't being.
Nigga, you don't want the smoke. Just shut the hell up.
Nigga, suck my dick, nigga.
Yeah, I mean, just in general, Samoa, I just would like to ask you this. We had a law that, if a policeman beats up a black man, but if he gets up after 3 days, is something that would be acceptable.
Black niggas get out for doing dumb shit all the time, though. I ain't gonna lie, bro. They be letting them niggas right out. I'm a part of them.
Yeah, what was your question again, Necro?
Yeah, if we had it where, simply policemen, beat up, if a policeman beats up a black man, trying to restrain him, But if he gets up after 3 days, he gets off a day or two. Is that moral?
I don't even know what that means.
Well, you're saying.
What the hell does that mean, bro?
Hold on a second. So you're defending the idea that a person engaging in a contract where they can lose their freedom and their employer can actually use force to be able to get them to incentivize to do work.
Work with the hypothetical that I offered. A person is going to give up their freedom for 3 days for $1 million.
So what if I refuse,
work with that?
What if I refuse to do work for you when in the contract?
Well, then you wouldn't take the $1 million, right?
No, you'll have to kill.
But the reason why you would hold on. The reason why you would take the $1 million, you are giving up your freedoms. That means they can do anything that they want with you, and you're going to agree to this.
Sam,
then what would you call it?
It's not slavery if I have to pay my property.
If you can do what?
If I have to pay my property, that's not slavery.
What an idiot! It's not your property yet.
Slavery.
You're acquiring the property with $1 million for 3 days. Now it's your property. But the reason of the consent was because the incentive is being offered for the $1 million. The slave is going to be the slave categorically for $1 million. That's the disparity, right?
What are you talking about? Real slavery, no slave work for $1 million. Let's get back on real subject. Real copy. No slave work for $1 million is disrespectful to my American heritage, bro.
I just want to
hold on, wife and Mr. Chow.
I just want to
Those motherfuckers were properties. No, I'm not. They didn't live in properties. They were properties.
Let Frank cook. Hold on.
Yeah. You were properties. You were.
Come on, man. What is this? ESL segment? The ESL? Like, what is this, bro?
It's crazy. Not the dream.
All right. I responded to Ashley because Ashley says whenever there's a power disparity, it is always immoral. That's what she said. Okay?
No, I was talking
right, because you couldn't handle the hypothetical and whether it was framed, bro. Right?
Essentially, what you're counting is to
Frank whipping your ass, bro. What do you do about it? Frank is whipping your ass.
What is happening?
You were property.
Frank, look at that French elbow. He just hit you with a French elbow, bro.
I've been trying to respond. So basically, Samo, you're talking about is where people are getting paid.
Oh my God, James, let me borrow that coat.
Working for 3 days. They're not.
No, not working. No, not working.
Okay. So they're for 3 days. They don't have their freedom, but they get $1 million. But that's slavery.
Yep.
$1 million. You're a slave.
Hold on, wait. Hold on.
You realize
before you're a slave, you are not in bondage. Now you're a slave, you are in bondage. So for this 3 days, you are in bondage. Voluntarily a slave. You can voluntarily be a slave. Yes, that's absolutely right. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. Bro, you know how hard the Africans would have worked for that $1 million? It's a horrible argument. It's a horrible.
Hey, take it easy. So you're going to argue that essentially athletes, that NBA players who make ridiculous salary, who sell themselves into...
why is Necro running away from the hypothetical? Stop running.
You didn't get hypothetical. You're saying...
Necro, bring that ass here, Necro.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Necro, Necro, hold on.
Yes.
Hold on. What someone said... Hello? It's not absurd. What someone just described in nature servitude. It's a contractual agreement. For 3 days, you get $1 million, and the person gets to treat you like a slave. Yeah, we've done that in history before. It's called indentured servitude, and that is not slavery. Slavery, there's a...
Hold on.
Hold on a second.
Why'd you intervene, bro?
No, I did not intervene. No, I'm just describing what you
So what do you call this?
It's not slavery. It's called indentured servitude. It's a contractual agreement.
Nigga, that's a job. $1 million to work for 3 days is a fucking job, bro.
$1 million
to work for 3 days. You own
Exactly. So I agree with
so the comment.
I agree.
Just relax. Well, Ash.
Alright, so every time I try, you guys are not able to do it. I'm back. Hello, my name is Knowledge. I am going to attempt to allow Samoa and only Samoa to speak. Samoa, please attempt to speak without anybody interrupting you.
Thank you very much, kind sir. Thank you very much. Yes, the statement that was made was whenever there is the presence of a power disparity, it is always immoral, it being of slavery. I gave a hypothetical, right, where a person is going to be a slave for 72 hours. Start the clock, $1 million will be transferred at the end of the 72-hour period. Okay? So within the 72-hour period, this person is a slave. Now, please, is this person, address the hypothetical, please. Address it, please.
Okay, I can address it. I'll explain next, okay? So I can address it because what you're referring to, right? So I want to ask you, like, are you a capitalist? Are you, like, I don't know. But anyways, right?
I don't want to be mean. Ashley.
Address what you
So
said.
as I was saying, oh wait, I'm not done.
Let me now.
No, I'm not done. I just want to finish my point.
Answer the
No, I didn't interrupt you. Just let me say.
Instead of
Because,
question.
I want to answer.
Question. Don't ask any question. Just entertain.
Okay, I'm gonna say no, and I'm gonna elaborate. Okay, the reason why it's so different. So when Ken spoke and said, "Yo, you're disrespecting my history," he's absolutely completely right. Cause like what you guys are doing is comparing and I would call it modern day capitalism, where people argue about employment to historical slavery, and it's just not the same thing. Cause why is different? Because at least you're getting paid. And you're doing it because you're getting paid, so it's more voluntary compared to modern, like, historical slavery, where you're being forced to do labor, and you're not getting paid.
You got to not.
Don't forget about the book.
Don't forget about
the Anybody folks don't understand.
Hold on. Kenan, hold on. Samoa, it's okay. She doesn't understand or can't answer. Neko, would you like to entertain Samoa's question? Would you like to entertain or answer someone's question?
Yeah, I mean, to me,
go ahead.
Like,
keep it short, please, because
I promise I will. It will take less than 20 seconds. So yeah, I find it absolutely absurd that the idea that people, simply have 72 hours where they, have to work for somebody and that they get split times, that's in any way slavery.
Oh, Kenan would say.
Okay, thank you. So they can consent, right, Nico?
Yeah. I think Ashley wanted to respond to the question.
So I'd like to respond. So obviously Ashley is wrong. The idea that whenever there's a power dynamic, it's slavery. It's nonsense. You don't have the same power as your boss. So obviously, it's not slavery, right? Secondly, if you enter into a contract where you agree to do something for payment, remember, you agree, even if there's a power dynamic, it's still not slavery. In slavery, there's an involuntary part. The person doesn't agree to be a slave. The person is taken into slavery against their will. That is a very key component of the definition of slavery. Necessarily. Now, the people who enter the contract, we have a very specific name for that. It is called indentured servitude, which means you enter into a contract to do work or labor because you owe a debt or you are being paid for your labor.
When the consequences for the body is carried outside its implies somebody alienation.
Not slavery.
Freedom. Look, if you crave your own freedom, it doesn't mean that you are not a slave.
What are you doing?
That was just a weird Marxist. I think that agency is a spectrum. You can start off with zero agency, which would be slavery, so zero freedom. As an indentured servant, you have the agency to actually negotiate and initiate a
contract.
Right.
And that's where the agency comes. Now, terms of the contract can be similar to slavery, but you had the agency and freedom to negotiate.
That's a good thing. You guys are actually addressing it with you guys are letting Matt.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you guys are letting Matt pigeonhole like this whole hypothetical. The hypothetical doesn't have to be a 1-to-1 ratio. It can be a person that has a wife. Like, you guys ever seen that movie, like Indecent Proposal? Like, where dude had to give his wife up for like $1 million because they were suing the economic strife of debt and things. So the woman, let's just say your wife, right, owes a debt for $1 million. And the offer that's being made is you will get $1 million if you are enslaved for 72 hours. Now, they're not buying you, right? They're just taking the debt of somebody else that's foreign to you. What is the difference between a person lending another person $1 million to hand you over? You gotta have the third verbal. The third verbal is it's not a direct transaction between two parties. It's you doing the slavery act for the somebody else's debt.
But you're a fucking slave, damn, bro. Y'all can keep missing the words.
The agency to negotiate the terms of what's happening.
No, it's your wife.
Be a slave.
Real freedom.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, God. I do appreciate it.
Consent is when you don't have limited
consent, agency, and ability to like leave, right? Which fits in.
I mean, but you can always dump your wife, though, right? Okay.
And yes, you can. But if if I don't have a choice and they come and they take me and then they put me into slavery or work for 3 days.
Oh, you're pivoting back to your definition. Yeah, so remember, you can dump your wife, so you always have consent. Yeah, so you can always consent at this point. Regardless of
I'm American. Some people died before they came a slave, homie. You over here giving them like one option, bro. My great-great-granddad died before he came a slave, homie.
Yo, hold on a second. Yo, listen, Kenan, I don't know who you are, bro. But in this room, we have conversation. We have conversation about a whole bunch of shit. If you're not man enough or mature enough to handle the conversation,
buddy, I'm sorry about. I'm sorry about my tone of voice, bro.
Thank you for the apology. I need you to stay off your mic while other people speak. Then, when it's your turn to speak, knowledge said you can say whatever the hell you want to say, according to knowledge. Okay? So, wait your turn.
Can I come in?
No.
Who hurt you?
Who's next, bro? I'm getting in trouble. No fucking reason.
No, go ahead.
No, you're not. You've been disruptive ever since I came in here.
That was a joke. Yo, yes, that was a joke. Ocean. That was a joke.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, so freedom, real freedom is when you can actually not be limited by a certain set of paths. So if you have like 3 choices, and these 3 choices is that whether you sign this contract or that other contract or the third contract, you will not have well-being. So this is in a way limiting you, right? So if you have many choices of paths, and you can actually choose not to choose one of them or choose one of them, this is real freedom. But if you are limited and your possible paths toward well-being will not happen unless you trade your freedom to another person, this is slavery. This is modern slavery.
Can I interact with Small's hypothetical?
Yeah, Ashley, after Kanan, he hasn't had a chance to speak.
Can I go after Ashley?
Like, I know I come off so disrespectful, bro. But as a Black American that grew up in these fucking United States, and I got me an attempted murder charge, and I'm in college, I done did a lot of shit from stop being a Black American to be, bro. Who muted me, bro? Like I said, at the end of the day, Violet over here talking about, okay, you been disrespectful. Bro, you ain't even been here. I've been in here since 4 o'clock last night. You feel me? So, like,
why are you addressing me? What are you addressing me?
Because you came out of nowhere talking to me, and I look at your profile, you're Puerto Rican and fucking.
I was not even talking to you. I wasn't even talking to you.
It don't matter. If you're not on the stage and you're like,
no, I don't care. I don't care.
You think, I got a shut the fuck up. No cares.
No, I got He's a disruption. That's
I agree.
period.
That's why I gave him space to speak so he can show himself, right?
Well,
He got belt to ass for me, so it's good. All right, who's next? Yeah, I think it was Ashley.
Please.
Okay, if I can make my argument without having 50 other people coming off. Okay, so Samoa, I need to ask some parameters around your hypothetical. After 24 hours, see, this is what happens.
Are they still stumped on the slavery issue or no?
Yeah, we're talking about like. And then when he gets back, we'll revisit. My questions are: after 24 hours, does the person have the ability to say, I want to forego the $1 million, and I want to walk away? I need to know that parameter.
Actually,
I asked to go next, please.
Yeah, Dottie did. Dottie, you'll go after Dottie. No, go ahead, let it go.
Oh, thank you. I know Cannon was like getting emotional to bring back up because I actually kind of agree with him because he's African American, and for this point only, not only now, but so when we talk about modern day slavery, like what people are saying is like, well, we're in modern day slavery, so why not go to the historical slavery since the slavery here is still bad, even though back then it was worse, right? So like. Let's go back all the way to the 90s with the records labels for rappers, which was modern day slavery, like Tupac. They're signed to labors. They had no choice to do anything, right? There's a reason why you see like Black Americans, they celebrate Kanye West and all these other rappers for getting the patents for their own music. Right, the royalties basically, because the funds all go into him. And I think the first person that spoke to it, the reason why everyone loves Michael Jackson, because he said at the music awards, this is going wrong, this is what they're doing, and it was especially seen in the 90s because it was an ongoing thing. But now you're seeing like most musicians branch off of that type of modern day slavery that happened in the 90s, right? So it's not like anyone's like saying like, I guess. My whole point is just like, yeah, modern day slavery is bad, and that's why you're seeing more people get out of it and be more entrepreneurship and have the profits go to themselves and getting out of that like grip hold of corporation. So like, I just don't get what you're trying to say.
Yeah. Okay. No. I as someone who has studied the subject. The use of the term modern day slavery is disrespectful to former slaves who have went to tremendous hardship. When you enter a contract, you are not a slave. You voluntarily enter that contract. Okay?
I was just saying his words.
Once again, what we call slaves, these people were taken against their will, put into bondage against their will, to do labor or whatever the duty was against their will. They could not say no, right? They could run away, but they could not say no, right? They could not say, oh no, I need a raise, I need better this, I need better that. There was no negotiation. That does not exist today, but in a few places, and those people are still, whatever they are slaves. Working for money, just because you don't like your job, just because you don't like the condition of your job, doesn't mean you are a slave. You voluntarily enter into a contract to do a work. That is not slavery. That is you being stupid. That is you being stupid and accepting low wages because you refuse to do so.
Wait, I have a question.
I just want to say to Matt, I agree with you. I'm not like I wouldn't. If you were listening, if you listen to, he literally was direct.
Yes, I understand.
And you can go.
Yeah. People have been trying to.
Sorry, I'm just going to be like less than a minute.
Yes, it's El Nathan. If El Nathan wants you to engage, he can say that. But it's El Nathan's turn.
It's fine. She can engage if she wants to. Let her engage.
But I was just gonna say, I wasn't agreeing with the guy when I say modern day slavery, because that's what he was talking about. I agree with you completely. That is different. But he's trying to use capitalism structure to like justify why we should go back to slavery. So that's what, because like there's the ideology about capitalism being modern day slavery.
I was not trying to justify like all days. I'm saying that all of them are wrong.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with historical slavery? For you to say, sugar belly. You're literally just talking about capitalism and how much it sucks. That's really all you're doing.
No, the thing is, like when you are in a police station and then they demand you, if you don't know the laws, don't speak, because take a lawyer, for example. People can agree with things, but they don't have the full knowledge about the consequences of this decision. Signing a contract or whatever, like they will not know how much of their freedom they are going to trade. Right?
Yeah, but you can't say it's historical slavery. And I use your own language, right?
I didn't say that.
Keep up interrupting.
No, because he's trying to use like modern day like contract stuff, and that's like Matt was like trying to correct me, saying, "Well, that's basically that's capitalism."
Look, Matt made a valid argument.
Question from Matt.
Hold on, Sugar Belly.
That's why I said, why do you think most people are trying to get patents because of bad contracts? That's what I'm saying.
Hold on. So Matt is trying to say that the only form of slavery that exists is if somebody is taken against their will. We all understand that that's not the case, right? There are other forms of slavery where somebody volunteers to, devote themselves to the thing. You can think of like a monk where they themselves have, taken on this particular role for whatever spiritual reasons. Look, maybe we need to put a definition of slavery on the table. And if you take the definition and you make it only somebody taken against their will, then okay, you win, right? That's not the definition that.
Yeah, so like that's kind of what my question is about.
Sugar Belly, please.
Yeah, freedom begins internally.
Samoa, please.
Sorry,
no,
is there a queue? I just don't want to.
No, there's no queue. There's no queue. But there should be some decorum. But there's no over talking. There should be some decorum.
I'm not trying to over talk you. I just want to know who I can go after.
You might not doing it intentionally, but it just so happens that
let me know who I can go after so I can shut up.
There was a queue, right? So we're gonna have El Nathan speak, and then we're gonna have Sugar Belly speak, and then Concrete, you can jump.
Wow.
They've been waiting for a minute.
Sugar Belly just got
Concrete, can you add me to the end?
Somebody just said hi, Sugar Belly.
Did you hear me? Hey, can you confirm you heard me, Hagop? Because earlier I guess
I saw.
Can you add me to the end? Can you add me to the end,
okay,
please?
You'll go after Concrete.
Hello, Sugar Belly. How you doing? Go ahead, El Nathan is on you.
Concrete. Sorry for interrupting you.
Sugar Belly.
All right, can you hear me?
You're good.
Yes. Okay.
Yes,
good.
baby, we can hear you.
Don't make me kill this shit, Belly. All right, go ahead.
No, so I think as Concrete was trying to say earlier, sort of definition would help the conversation, like defining what the term we refer to is, right? So if you say, what is slavery? Then if we have definition, then it's easier to argue whether or not a thing qualifies as that definition which we have all agreed on, right? But if looking at sort of the basic definition, it's about not just what we feel, but also legally, so like de jure and de facto property. So property in law and property in practice, right? And so the latter is more difficult to assess because people have different definitions. For example, with sex, right? Some feminist scholars would say all sex work is some kind of slave. That's it. Others would say would disagree, right? And so if you look at the laws, for example, there are legal definitions of the term. Like there is, from the 20s before the United Nations, there was the League of Nations, 1926, and they said they defined it in sort of the League of Nations Slavery Convention. If you move forward to sort of other academics' definitions, there's sociologists, for example, like Patterson, who define it in very strict terms, like the permanent violent domination of another person where there's alienation and dishonor. So each of these terms in turn need definition. So I think that the conversation would benefit with, first, can we agree on a basic definition of the terms? Now, from that definition, I think it would be easier for all of us to argue the point. It's like arguing from different definitions of the term slavery. Are we limiting, and this was where I think moderators will come in great. If we can say, to make this conversation better, can we at least agree on the basic minimum for the definition of what this term means? And then we can begin to argue whether or not certain hypotheticals fit the definition or not. I don't know if this wants to add that.
All right, Coolio, I'm so glad you said that because when Matt was saying like what he was saying, that was kind of when I sort of like perked up. When he said calling like it modern day slavery is insulting to like people that went through actual slavery, and then, you know, kind of gave the example of taking somebody against their will forcibly and so on and so forth. And the reason why is because what constitutes as slave is not really about how the person got into the state of slavery. It's about the conditions under which the person is and like whether or not those conditions qualify for slavery. So by definition, a slave is a person who is forced to work or obey another person, or forced to be excessively dependent upon or be controlled by another person, and then in some systems may be considered the property of another person, right? This is what a slave is by definition. So it has nothing to do with how the person became a slave. And I just wanted to point out, because like you're trying to make this distinction, the truth of the matter is that like the only reason why modern day slavery tends to involve people, you know, signing work contracts that are actually, you know, really bad and so on and so forth is because, you know, by dint of modernization, certain actions that used to be quite common in the past, that used to be quite easy to perform in the past, have become quite difficult. And one of those actions is taking people forcibly against their will. So in most countries in the world right now, if you attempted to seize people by force in order to enslave them, that would trigger some sort of police response or trigger some sort of governmental response, like almost immediately, which means that like it's quite impractical for enslaving people. And so that's the reason why in modern day slavery, the primary means of enslaving people is disguised as legitimate work, right? But my point is that I completely disagree with what you said, Matt, because the vehicle by which somebody enters into a state of slavery is irrelevant. What is relevant is whether or not the state that they're in qualifies as slavery or it doesn't qualify as slavery. And, you know, in a lot of these like modern day slavery situations, the state does qualify as slavery. The person is not able to voluntarily stop the work. The person has somebody that they have to obey, otherwise there will be, you know, serious consequences, danger to their physical well-being, danger to their life or whatever it is. The person is not able to leave the situation, the person is not able to stop or get out of the situation, and they are forced to be excessively dependent upon, or, you know, in some cases they are even owned or considered the property of the people that, you know, are enslaving them. And that checks all the boxes for slavery. So it is slavery. Like I just don't understand this business of like, oh, it's an insult to the other people who did real slavery. The people who did slavery in the past, it was slavery. The people who are doing slavery in 2025, it is also slavery. The only difference is the vehicle by which they got into the slavery, but it's still the same thing.
I think you and I agree that is, you and I agree that is the same definition that I provided. I would even say, yes, there are slaves today. For instance, the people that, I don't know, they give their passport and then you got to get it when you get there and then you get into passport. Yeah, that would be slavery too. So my definition is applicable to today, and this is why I reject the term modern day slavery. Normally, and socialists, whenever they use that term modern day slavery, they imply that people that enter legal contractual work to be slavery because they lack some independence while they're working or whatever the issue may be. People say because they get a low wage for the work that they do, it is slavery. And I say, no, it's not.
If you consciously enter into a contract and the contract is being obeyed by both parties, it is not slavery, no matter how unfair it is toward you, or you feel that the contract is unfair toward you. You voluntarily entered into a contract.
No,
hold on.
Entering.
Hold on, we got a problem.
Probably just one line. Just one line.
The term indentured servitude exists for a reason.
I just want to be sure, like, where we're kind of getting where it's crossed, right? The test of whether or not this is slavery is not about you entered it. The test is the day you decide you want to, the day you decide you want to leave, the day you decide you don't want to do more, are you free to stop, leave, and go away? It's the test.
Right. I agree with you.
Come on, man. Hold on. Let's do a definition.
Leave room for that.
What's your definition? I want to hear a definition.
I asked for definition. The common asked for definition of slavery. That's the definition.
What is it?
Who works? A person who is forced to work or obey another and is considered to be their property.
All right, great. So the forced to work, why would that be a necessary component?
Because it's against your will. Because it's against.
So then you're just defining it
and making.
Look, so I just take it that even if we were to use your definition of against your will, I could still find an argument why that wouldn't be immoral inherently. And we all understand. I'm about to. We could easily understand how taking somebody who was an invader to your country, and we would just consider that maybe a prisoner of war, where you would take that prisoner of war and put them into slavery. Where now, as a form of their punishment for invading your country, they now have to work and they're owned by the state. What's wrong with that? It's against their will. It's against their will.
It's still slavery.
Yeah, it is slavery. What's wrong with that?
You're providing a justification for the sin.
Yes, that's what makes it not immoral. That's what makes it not immoral.
No, it is still immoral forcing someone to work against their will.
Okay, great. So punishing. So now what you've made immoral is punishing criminals. You've made punishing criminals immoral.
Yeah, but the punishment is not slavery.
The punishment is slavery in this case.
Why is the punishment slavery?
Because that's what we decided as a state. Yes.
Therefore, it's immoral. Yeah.
Okay, great. So you've invalidated. You can't keep baby and throw. You want to try to throw out the bathwater and keep the baby. No, you got to get rid of all of it. Why? Because the baby's inside the bathwater. If you cannot punish criminals, then your whole society just collapses now. And since we don't want to collapse our society, we'll punish criminals, and then this is the way that we'll punish them. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Wait, I just want to be sure of something. So, like, is Matt's arguments against?
I'm waiting.
Is Matt's arguments basically that, we shouldn't punish criminals with slavery, but we can with other things?
Like capital punishment, right? You can kill them. You can keep them in solitary confinement. You can make them fucking being 20 years walking yard and being subjected to all manners of evil. But slavery, oh no, too much.
I mean, I'm not against punishing certain types of criminals with slavery, but I don't think it should be a general punishment.
That's a separate issue.
So the thing that is self-imposed slavery, which is by consenting, is considered to be, for me, like, it is self-harming. And I don't agree with self-harming.
What do you mean?
Like agreeing,
describe that.
Agreeing to be a slave is like you are being consenting to be a slave. Is basically self-harming, and I treat it the same way as suicide. You are trading your own freedom. You are signing something, and then you agree to trade your own freedom because sometimes it is because of frustration, anxiety of the future. Limitation of chances, and there is no equal opportunities for all, that you find yourself in much less opportunities to be free than your person that you are signing the contract with. Slavery, I understand slavery. I defined it as the opposite of freedom. A free person is not a slave, and a slave is not a free person. And it begins internally. If someone is not internally free, he is going to self-harm himself. He is going to trade his own freedom to others, signing contracts or whatever for their own goal. That is slavery, even though it is self-imposed, right? So basically, a slave, you can understand things by their opposites. I can know what hot is that it is not cold, and cold is the absence of heat. Slavery is the absence of freedom. And a free person is the opposite of what slave is.
Really?
Yeah.
What? All this time, I thought slavery meant more freedom. It means no freedom? Oh, no. Thank you for...
Yes, prison is not a slave. Like,
Can we make space for Ashley? She's been trying to talk for a minute.
Go ahead, Ashley.
As long as you brush your teeth.
Oh, I was just asking where we were in the
You have to promise.
Samoa, I just
There
wanted
you
to
go.
know, like, in your hypothetical, does the person have the ability to forego the $1 million and walk away after the agreement?
Wait, nobody told me this hypothetical.
Samoa.
Tell her the hypothetical. Tell her the hypothetical.
The hypothetical is Samoa's hypothetical is that somebody gives you $1 million, but you have to be their slave for 72 hours. Was it? It was like 3 days.
Can I just ask one question about this hypothetical?
I'm trying to find out myself.
Like,
but I don't think Samoa's
my question is very simple. Is the somebody male or female?
That would be a Samoa question.
Listen, let's just give us the response to
Okay,
There's only
cool.
two,
So
right?
here's my answer. If the somebody is female, yes, I will be their slave for 72 hours. If the somebody is male, hell no, keep your $1 million.
She's probably
It was
imagining.
about Concrete's original. It was about Concrete's original about whether or not it can be moral. You cut me off. It was
No, I didn't. I just responded to Sugar Belly. Samoa's not here. Stop being entitled. Anyway, the whites are out of control today. I'm not gonna lie. You guys, anyway.
Why are
Sugar
you
Belly.
racist to her for no reason?
Wow,
You should have been here, Sugar Belly. She gets the joke. The whites have been on a rampage today. We've been talking about just so you. Hold on, Sugar Belly.
Charlie Kirk.
Punch you. You know the word they say Charlie Kirk died.
I know. Sugar Belly, Ashley and I have a rapport where she understands the joke.
Yes,
and
I
she's
get
been
it. I
here
get it.
arguing.
I get it.
Thank you. I'm glad you realized that. Anyway, Sugar Belly, how have you been? Are you still in the market? What are your thoughts on the economy?
Look, like my answer to the hypothetical is very simple. The thing is that if you agree to be a woman's slave for 72 hours, okay, fine. You know, she might ask you to do all sorts of weird stuff or whatever, but you're probably going to be fine. The problem with agreeing to be a man's slave for 72 hours is that it's guaranteed to get sexual. Guaranteed.
Yes, I know you're imagining Diddy.
Thank you.
Yes, I know you're imagining
So,
Diddy.
Sugar Belly, hold on. So if you enter into a contract for 3 days for $1 million, that makes you a slave?
I mean, so the contract agreement is like basically for 72 hours, this person can direct anything, and you're not allowed to say no. Like, no matter the situation, no matter how uncomfortable it makes you, no matter if it's in day life, you're not allowed to say no. Like, by definition of being a slave, right? Those are the conditions. The conditions are that for 72 hours, even if this ends in your own death, you are not allowed to say no.
No, obviously you cannot be killed. Obviously you cannot be killed.
Yeah, I mean, you know, or you would hope.
Why do we have the term indentured servitude? If everything is a slave.
Okay, Matt, so here's the difference, right? The difference between indentured servitude in terms of like the experience of it versus slavery is that indentured servitude has limits to like what the person can do. By definition, if you are somebody's slave, especially if it's the chattel type of slavery where by definition you are somebody's property, that person can end your life and nothing will happen. Like that is the full range of power that like being the owner of a slave gives you. But you can't just kill your indentured servants without consequences. Like,
correct. In this
cars,
hypothetical, you dying is not part of it either.
Matt, can I
It's
just
$1 million for 3 days. This is why there's a 3-day clause. Obviously, you cannot be killed.
Matt, let me just say something. Sugar Belly, I think that this is a stupid point because I agree with the general point, but you realize that even in actual slavery, there used to be laws about how slavery could be conducted. So it is not, you don't need to, like, so even in places where there was slavery, you couldn't just kill your slave, right? There used to be laws. Yeah. So I just wanted to add that to say, like, just because a person is a slave,
so here's the thing. On the face of
the person doesn't need to be able to do anything with you in an unlimited way. Often within that institution, there will also be rules. So in every sort of, for example, if you think of Muslim slave, was different, right? So for example, you couldn't enslave another Muslim, or if your Muslim slave converted to Islam, you needed to extend them certain rights, right? But it didn't change the fact that that was slavery. In fact, there were, hence the different types of slavery, right? So you don't need to be able to do an unlimited amount of things to a person for it to be slavery. That's just what I want to add.
So I'm not saying that like you have to be able to do that for it to be slavery. What I'm saying is that by definition, slavery is inclusive of that. Do you get? So what I mean is like you have all around the world different cultures, different histories, different ways that like they did their own slavery. But my point is that by definition, slavery is inclusive of all the systems where you can just kill your slave, like without questions from anybody. And historically, there were such systems. Like within a system, maybe it didn't apply to every single category of slave, but the point is that historically, there were systems where, within the population of slaves, you also had sub categorizations of slaves that you could kill them or whatever, and like nobody cared. Really good example, we're from a country where human sacrifice used to be endemic, right? Everybody who got sacrificed was a type of slave. Nobody had an issue with like sacrificing these people.
Yes. I just wanted to add that new dynamic. I just wanted to add to say for the base level of slavery, you don't need to have that unlimited.
I get it.
But yes, of course, I agree.
Another example is like slavery in Imperial China, for instance, right? On the surface, were you meant to be going around killing slave nilly? No, you weren't meant to be doing that. But a lot of the royal family, like for very little things, somebody would break a jade teapot and that person would lose their life. Or somebody would have a miscarriage or like have a stillbirth, and they would kill off all the people that assisted with the birth, that kind of thing. And there was no consequence because these are the masters and like these people are the slaves. So my point is not that you have to kill people for it to be slave, but my point is that slavery by definition is inclusive of systems where you're allowed to kill the person with no consequence. It doesn't mean it's going to apply to everybody, but like it includes that. And I say all this stuff to say that I don't want to be a man's slave, okay? Because if you're a man's slave for some 2 hours, it's going to end up with like his dick in your bum or his dick in your something. Okay, I can be a woman in 2 hours. I'm not going to agree to be a man's slave all the time.
Really, what if you added the stipulation that there would be no Diddy-esque encounters and there would be third-party supervision, which had the authority to shoot to kill in case any Diddy-esque event.
You underestimate how creative men are.
Oh, nah. See, look.
In their pursuit
that's
of
not slavery. Then that's not
manipulation.
What is condition?
You can manipulate someone to enslave them.
This is what I mean by the watering down of slavery. Like, none of this condition you guys are attaching is making it more slavery. It's actually making it less slavery. Just like we have OSHA, that's making sure you don't abuse your construction worker and provide them with a safe environment. Yeah, in slavery, there's no such thing.
In the past, in Arabia,
down of the term slavery.
Yeah, in the past in Arabia,
I have to agree with Matt, like on this point.
So
Yeah, in the past in Arabia, the people who will enslave people. Yeah, wait. Yeah, so in Arabia in the past, for the people to actually enslave other people, what they need to do is to control food, to control water, and to take control of these things. So these people will not have any other choice but to go to these people. So manipulation can be a factor on enforcing people to be slaves to a certain person, right?
Yeah, true. So I mean, I didn't want to say this before, but so part of the work I do, right, is like slavery studies, which is focused on slavery.
Wait, Nathan, you have to tell us your answer to the hypothetical, whether or not you'd agree to be a woman's slave or a man's slave.
I wouldn't agree to be anybody's slave. Doesn't matter who, like man or woman. I wouldn't agree to be anybody's slave. That's just my general
For
answer.
$1 million?
I mean,
it's only
okay, so
2 hours though.
No, but then that comes back to the question of, is it slavery if I willingly give consent to do stuff to myself for 3 days? This then becomes a question. So that's a different question, because then I would dispute. I would say perhaps that is not slavery if you're giving me $1 million. So, but I wanted to just add that, like, so there is slavery studies, right? And slavery scholars, for example, have talked about these questions that we're actually talking about. So it had actually been debated. There are all these philosophical and theoretical distinctions between free labor and slavery, even from as early as, so for example, if you think of John Locke, right, in the 17th century, John Locke was one of the people, for example, who defined slavery. And he, for example, in his 1690 book, the famous Second Treatise of Government, defined it in legal terms, and it entered into the distinctions between labor and slavery, where he was saying that, slavery is the state of absolute arbitrary power of one man over another, right? Very simple definition. Arbitrary, absolute power of one man over another, right? And in John Locke's definition, for example, and I'm sorry to be boring with the sort of technical slavery scholars, but like his distinction between servitude and contractual labor was three-pronged, right? He said, a person can sell their labor but cannot sell their person, right? So it is possible to sell a service but not sell themselves. And if they sell themselves, regardless of whether there was consent in the selling, it is slavery, because a person is unable to sell themselves, right? The second prong is that the only time, and this is according to John Locke, which was one of the earliest, if you think of slavery studies, right? He said that slavery is only legitimate as a punishment in a just war. So which brings me back to the sort of examples you were giving about people being enslaved after a war, right? And for John Locke, slavery that's the only time slavery is legitimate, where there is punishment and there is a just war, and the war has ended. Otherwise, in the view of John Locke, if there is a continued state of war, so for example, Ukraine, Russia, whatever happens between Ukraine and Russia, those prisoners of war, the consequence of that coercion is illegitimate in the view of John Locke, right? But of course, 200 years later, there was Adam Smith, right, who, in discussing political economy, for him, he saw slavery as sort of economically inefficient, morally wrong, and for him it was also three-pronged in how labor sort of defined itself. And you can go to Karl Marx, you can go to Patterson in the 20th century, you can go to Weatherman in modern times, Deborah Hellman, and then the feminist debates, for example, where the radical feminists, like McKinnon, think that prostitution, for example, is inherently that you cannot call it anything other than sexual slavery, right? Because of the foundational gender inequality that undermines anything like choice. So they are the ones who came up with the term, we do not believe in choice feminism. You cannot choose to enslave yourself to a man, right? But then there are the sex worker advocates, you know, for example, who say sex work is labor, and calling it calling it slavery undermines agency. Then again, there are feminists who say that some types of sex work are slavery, sometimes are not. Trafficking, for example, forced prostitution, that kind of thing, blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to stop here to say that whatever we're discussing now, there's been at least 400 years of debate. And it might be good as we're debating to sort of like look these things up and see what, you know, slavery scholars have debated. Whatever we're saying, there's nothing here we're saying is new. We can talk about what we agree on. Oh, I agree with Locke, or I agree with this, or I have a completely different opinion. But, you know, there are definite definitions. There are parts where philosophers differ. It's you know, we can decide to be on either side of the argument. I'm sorry for boring you with the technical.
May I speak next, or is there a queue? Hi, go for it.
Hey, so pardon my ignorance. Let me turn my, okay. So I was asking in the chat, El Nathan, what type of career do you make with a slavery degree? I mean, what it, walk me through it. Maybe I'm ignorant to it.
It's not a degree. It's I am in the research of slavery studies. So, for example,
that's your master's. You're doing your master's, or no?
No, I actually teach.
Oh, okay.
But I also have books around this that I'm working on, essays and so on, like academic work around, but particularly slavery in northern Nigeria. This is my specific area. Slavery in northern Nigeria pre-colonial times. You know, what is now northern Nigeria? So Hausa land, the Kanuri Empire, all of the sort of smaller kingdoms around what is now called northern Nigeria.
If you will. It's conversation.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. We can. I'm good. We can move on to someone else. I don't, because you did just kind of give it a nice submission. So yeah.
So I wanted to say that, and I'm not like, I didn't do slavery studies in school, but I will say though that I think that somewhere or something in which like it actually does really important work is getting people to realize that certain systems that they see in the world that they don't realize are strange, or they don't realize like are problematic, are actually slavery systems. Like a really good example of this is like Chokosi in Benin Republic, or Money Wife in like southeastern Nigeria in like Cross River and Akwa Ibom. They have this thing called Money Wife, right? And in Benin Republic, they have this thing called Chokosi. These are both two types of slavery that are kind of staring you in the face, but you don't necessarily realize it's slavery. So like Money Wife is like when you have somebody, usually a man, because men are like the root of all evil, usually a man, and this man owes somebody else money. It can be any amount of money, but let's just say he owes somebody a lot of money. And for some reason, he can't pay the money back. So instead of him selling himself into slavery, which is exactly what I think he should do to pay back his money, what he does is that he takes maybe his niece or like some other little girl in his family without telling anybody, and then goes and gives that girl to the person that he's owing the money, right, to be that person's money wife. And so that girl is then forced to live with the person that he's owing the money, usually another man, and, you know, provide sexual services or whatever it is, and free labor, or like whatever it is, for X number of years until the debt is considered paid off, right? Chokosi in Benin Republic is kind of like a variant of this, but the difference is that I think they don't give the child or the girl to the person that they owe the money. They give her to some sort of temple or shrine or something to kind of work the debt off in some way, shape, or form. But the point is that like you literally have people that had nothing to do with the debt getting enslaved in order to expunge or rather absolve the person who's owing the money from like their obligation. It's slavery, but a lot of people don't like, you know.
Yeah. I was just sitting here listening. I mean, I'm sure there's some form of something here in the United States, but we try not to focus on that slavery thing because it was such a problematic situation for us here. So you have to understand, I don't want to hear nothing about slavery. But when you guys brought it up, I'm like, what the hell? But at any rate, I can dig it. It's somewhere.
I don't understand. Like, what is going on? Were we the ones who brought this up? Like,
no, I don't know who brought up this.
Yeah,
it was Andrew.
I see somebody writing in the chat.
It was
Andrew. The room and blah blah blah. Like, this is not my topic. I didn't bring it up.
It was Andrew.
Why am I now being blamed for the topic that other people were discussing?
No, you just rebel demons. You just rebel demons. That's it.
But I just wanted to add, in response to the last speaker who talked about the sort of sensitivity of African Americans to the subject. I often like to remind Americans that whereas, they might have been talking about slavery from a long time ago, there are people who are still slaves now. I mean,
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I can dig it. You don't have to say that. We know there's slaves over there on another continent. I can dig it.
Yeah, so yeah,
you can dig it, but we can't mention it on Clubhouse.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So, Miss,
nobody said
I have
my
to be
friend.
honest.
You did. No, I was listening to the audience for a while.
Yeah, okay, so I have to be honest. Like, I kind of feel like this conversation took a weird turn.
It did. That's why I'm very disgusted with it, because it started with Andrew, who's not even here anymore. That's what I'm saying. And people are coming up saying things like, this is what you if you think you're a slave, you're going to be. So I'm like, where the hell did this come from? It was Andrew. Andrew said something about he doesn't see anything wrong with slavery. It's something about he would have them sleep in a big house, all that foolishness. So no, when you came in, it had took a wrong turn, Sugar Belly. So that's why we're here, and I'm like, what the hell? Thank you. Yeah, this is interesting, Frey.
It was actually a hypothetical by Concrete.
Yeah, I think we have
a morals discussion. It was a morals discussion. Like, could it ever be? Are there any situations where it could be moral?
Basically, there's nothing wrong with having conversations, especially about slavery, right? Those things persist for so long because we refuse to talk about it. We refuse to face it head on. And I know you're in the Baltimore area, so I recommend you to go to the African American Museum.
I know exactly where to go.
Right, go in the basement, soak it up.
I know.
Right,
I know.
go in the basement,
I've been
soak
here
it up.
over 4 decades on this.
I hear you. I hear you.
I know about it.
Go. I will also say, with that nice American passport, go to Guadeloupe, go to the Memorial Act. It is probably one of the best slavery museum in the world.
Don't want to do that.
It will change your life. It will change your life, and you'll have a different perspective.
Don't want nothing to do with that.
We need to teach the children about the past so that we don't repeat it in the future.
But all of it.
So we need to have the conversation. It's uncomfortable, but those conversations are needed.
When I first started studying this whole thing, right, in the country that I lived in, I was reading this. One of the first papers I sort of stumbled onto was a paper by a very well-known scholar in northern Nigerian history called Lovejoy. And the first paragraph of the paper was that as early as the 1980s, there were people who were openly either talked about, sold, or engaged with as slaves in northern Nigeria in the 1980s. So for me, of course I knew about slavery just from other things, but I didn't realize how close it was to me, that in the parts of the country where I live in, there are people still being considered slaves. And of course, it's very, for us, I remember walking into the palace of an emir, and I'd done some project, blah, blah, and he had invited me to blah, blah, this big palace with sort of this absolutely sprawling, living room. You walk in, you're dizzy just by the size of the room. And he's so far in the distance that you can barely see him, and you have to maintain a certain distance on the red carpet, whatever. But his is what I would describe as slaves, told me, and they asked me where I was from, and I'm from part of the state that used to be a place where they used to hunt for slaves. And what he told me was, oh, you used to be our slaves. Like, this was said to me in my own country as an adult, you know? So the whole idea of slavery is very present and relevant in the minds of many of us. You know, you might say, oh, we were slaves 400 years ago, or blah, blah, blah. For many of us, they call us slaves now, today, 2025.
Yeah, but
you still identify as a slave?
No, that's not what he said. What he said is that he went to an emir's palace. If you don't know what an emir is like a kind of king, and basically they were just having a casual conversation, and he happened to mention where he was from, and the emir was like, "Oh yeah, you guys used to be our slaves." Like he just said it like super casually, like, you know, like, because he used to have slaves, he used to own slaves, or at least his family used to own slaves, and he was like, "Oh yeah, like you guys used to be our slaves." And, like he didn't realize like there was something wrong with what he was saying. Like it was super casual for him. That's what he's trying to say.
Well, yeah, the Arab people invented slavery.
That's not correct, but anyway. But
I think it is true. If you look it up, you can look it up.
But Nathan, I'm kind of not even surprised because don't the Dantatas, don't they get their name from like I think it's their great grandmother's slave? That's what they got their name from. So.
Oh yeah, like Northern Nigerian slavery is like so. Like,
yeah, it's very endemic.
It's responsible for so much of what is happening today. Like you can trace it and you know the British left us in 1960, but also the British only came in 1900. So imagine that, like full blown proper slavery, and the British didn't really end slavery.
Wait, here's another question.
The open markets.
What do you mean when you say in the chat?
Exactly what I said. You just said that y'all have slavery in Africa. That's what y'all do in Nigeria. Don't get mad at me.
No, sorry, I didn't catch that. Can you just repeat that, please?
I said Sugar said Nigeria has slavery, and said exactly what I said. That's what they have over there, and you do.
Yeah, but you said
you
said this is their culture.
It is. Don't get mad at me, sweetie. It is what it is.
I'm not mad at you. I was just
we just having a conversation, right?
Yeah, yes, we are having a conversation, and I'm not mad at you. I was just asking you to like expatiate what you were saying. Yeah, but anyway, I think the slavery conversation is pretty interesting because there's plenty of slavery systems all over the world in 2025 still that need to be ended.
I'm a slave for you.
Very funny. I actually really like that Britney Spears song. Oh, Concrete, about.
On this argument is almost like it's like if you see a bunch of people fall into a hole, and you see there's no way out of that hole, why would you then volunteer to like also jump in the hole? I don't get it.
What do you mean? The argument part of it ended, I think, a while ago.
Yeah, I know. That's why we're doing the after show, the after party. So we're talking about how Matt saw all these people fall into this hole where they couldn't argue that slavery is inherently immoral. And then after all of them jumped in the hole, he decided to also jump in. And I don't understand it.
When did I jump in?
Because you think it's inherently immoral.
I don't think that's what's really up for debate. Like, I don't think that's what
I was the original debate.
The morality.
No, I get how you guys got here.
My issue was always the strict definition of slave. I do not like the watering down of the word slave. I don't like all this multi-definition that diminish what real slave, if I dare say, went through.
Yeah, so you already
I don't think sex work is slave, Sugar Belly.
No, sex work
voluntary
absolutely is slavery.
Yeah, but
That's
no, I don't think so.
slavery, and it's slavery because it meets those criteria, which is that you're forced to work, right? You can't stop. You're forced to obey. You can't get out of it without severe consequences to your life and safety. Like by those conditions, that is slavery. It doesn't matter like what people think about it. The point is that it meets the criteria.
So I guess Mac could say that there is.
No, it doesn't. Hold on, real quick. No, it doesn't. The young woman who goes on a newspaper or online and put an ad and receiving client in her own apartment in the comfort of her own home, that is sex work and that is not slavery.
You're doing that thing where you're trying to pick the type of sex work that you think, is based in freedom, and then you're trying to use that to extend it to like the whole sex work umbrella.
So all we have to do
Can I suggest something?
You guys
I know. Let me just say my thing. Then you guys can tell me like what you think is wrong. Okay. So if we take all the sex workers in the world, all of them, including the ones that stand on the streets, the ones in the brothels, the ones on OnlyFans, those who are selling their farts for $1,000 in a bottle, if we take all of them, right, and then we look at, okay, how many of these people meet like what criteria? The vast majority of the sex workers are coerced. The vast majority of the sex workers are doing it against their will. The vast majority of the sex workers face serious consequences if they attempt to stop doing it, or they face serious danger if they attempt to stop doing it. They're not able to stop doing it freely because they have somebody they have to obey, they have somebody they have to give the money, and so on and so forth. This is the typical sex workers situation. Now, at the fringes, the outlier typers are the glamorous ones. The ones that you see on OnlyFans, there's like their middle class bedroom or their upper middle class bedroom. All they have to do is take off their clothes on a camera. There's no dirty man coming to stick anything inside any parts of their body. Or the ones that, they dress up really nicely. They go to meet those billionaires in Monaco or whatever. And I've noticed that a lot of people, when they want to talk about like sex workers, they talk about those glamorous ones, and then they act as if the reality of the glamorous ones applies to the average sex worker, and that's simply not the truth. So for majority of these, you can cite on mute.
Like Sugar Belly, you don't have to use 75 words to repeat yourself and make a fallacious argument. Yes, that means hurry up. Take the social cue. Hurry up. Hurry up.
Did you?
Hurry up.
Did you have something?
Hurry up. You cut me off to make this horrible argument. Hurry up.
Did you have
I'm tired of being cordial with you. Hurry up.
Did you have something?
Yes.
Did you?
Yes, social cue. Get it.
If you didn't unmute your mic to
Look, I let you cut me off, but now I'm tired of it. So hurry up.
So I'm sorry, but like it's really not realistic. Like the experience of the average sex worker is that yes, it's slavery.
All right, so Sugar Belly is engaged in, because she was speaking for so long and so erroneous in her logic, and she knew it. So I won't. God loves me. Anyway, she was so erroneous in her argument that I had time to come up with the fallacy that she was committing, and we're gonna call it the fallacy of composition, which she admittedly employed, right? All right, so here's the fallacy of composition. This is when you incorrectly assume that a characteristic true of the individual parts must also be true of the whole. So yes, there are individual parts. We'll just split the baby or split the sex worker. There's individual parts of sex working that are coercive and slavery. Then, as Matt described, there's a aspect or characteristic of sex work that is not. We're done. Thank you. Have a nice day. And all you did was use 75,000 words to make a bad argument. And look, I don't want to put belt to ass, Sugar Belly, but you needed it.
Thank you. So you didn't need to explain what I said in additional words. Sorry, only thing.
Yeah, we don't need an additional word.
Shut up, concrete.
So, okay, so I mean, again, just back to the whole slavery studies thing, right? So it's interesting that even this conversation it's not, even among feminists, it's not a simple conversation. There are like serious feminist scholars on both sides of this argument who have said that sex work is not work, or that sex work is work. And so, for example, the abolitionists among, people who do feminist studies around sex work, and they see not just prostitution, but prostitution, pornography, those kinds of things as, institutionalized sexual subordination. And that, in fact, the reason why the consent for them is not real consent is because the consent is produced by inequality. And so the line to sexual slavery sort of is thin, right? So we have Catherine McKinnon, for example, Andrea Dworkin, Sheila Jeffries, Melissa Farley. All of these people say that prostitution is inherently exploitative and degrading. And that even though there is a market exchange, that market exchange does not coerce, does not sort of cleanse this kind of position. Now, there are those in the middle road, right, that talk about the limits of market, the limits of coercion, the limits of exploitation. So you think of scholars like Nadine, Deborah Zatz, that talk about the existence of both proper and noxious markets, right? That some markets are permissible only with strong guardrails. So, for example, rules around sex work, government protect sex workers, blah, blah. Otherwise, they will produce these like harmful power asymmetries, right? Then, of course, there are people who talk about contracts in terms of, say, if you have a sex worker and you have a contract, it can actually mask domination, and that prostitution can reproduce kind of hurt within patriarchy that it does within sex, right? So it reproduces that kind of patriarchal authority even when there is consent and all that. Now, there are people who say, well, if there are proper rules, then, for example, we can say that some people are not. So there are abolitionists, there are those in the middle, there are those who are radical on the part of sex work being work, and that is, for them, it is tied to the agency of women to be able to deal with sex how they see fit. And so if a woman wants to have sex with 100 men in a day and she has agency to say no, she has agency to stop, she's not bound by contracts that force her to do it, which is the case, as one might argue, with a few so-called OnlyFans models, right, who are able to sell their services as they deem fit on their terms, and it's starting and ending on their terms. So some of those sort of people who are not on the abolitionist sort of side would argue that is not slavery. So for me, I think that there are several ways to argue the point, and I think that all of them have some kind of merit. I'm not particularly tied to either one.
Nathan,
Can I actually reply to that?
It came off first. Come on, man. Y'all gotta listen. Women are wonderful.
I'm assuming that you're going
women
to
wonderful.
speak, and then Ashley will go after you, and I'll go after Ashley. Is that okay?
Women are wonderful creatures. Has nothing against y'all, but you have to be more assertive. Thank you. Anyway, Nathan, I really like your approach. And maybe I want to make sure I'm interpreting it correctly, where you're laying the groundwork on the underlying theory or thoughts on a topic in order for the listeners and the people, the enemy combatants such as Matt and Sugar Belly, to then come to the right conclusions based on this information that you're providing. Now, I take it that is most useful when you're dealing with people who are operating in good faith and who aren't entrenched and intransigent with regards to their position, and they are willing to humbly consider the underlying frameworks that support these systems, these beliefs, these understandings. But I think after 3 or 4 rounds of somebody holding on to their position with unmovability, even in light of like damaging, defeating myths, then I think that approach is no longer useful. Even though I think it's commendable to continue to try, but I hear what you're saying. I definitely want to give you your flowers on that. Now, again, I'm going to just reiterate the point because I think it's more effective in my approach, or in tandem with his approach, my approach, which is to say, I think Nathan has clearly laid out the position that it's not one or the other, but both, right? Not both, both. BOFF. And stop arguing against both, because we know that is the more reasonable, logical position. Yes, some sex work is slavery, not all. Not all. Hashtag not all. It's sugar belly. If you argue against it again, that it's all slavery, then we know that you're just being ideological.
I strongly believe that you have a hearing problem.
One second. All right. Just correct me when we're done. If you're not making that argument, fine.
It's already been done.
If you're not making that argument, then fine. And Ashley, here you go.
Oh, Nathan, I could make the argument that, because of the social structures and because the stigma that comes with it, once you start any kind of sex work, because of that stigma that comes along with it, you kind of can't get out of it. You kind of can't do anything else. So I see the argument where any type of sex work is a form of sex slavery. Like, even if you start it willingly, because later on, when you go to get another job, we've seen teachers fired and all of that. I'm just trying to engage in the conversation and offer a different.
Actually, please go on, because I honestly,
You can't tell her to go on and interrupt her. You're interrupting her by telling her to go on.
Okay, Tim, was it you that
No, my plan was landed. That was the only point.
Shut your mouth.
Okay, no problem. I'll go after her. I'll just mute my mic.
Oh, I landed my plane.
Hold on, Tim. Be nice to Sugar Belly.
Okay, so Tim, she's done, and I was after her. Are you not going to mute me, or I don't know? Are you just being aggressive for no reason?
No, we've been mobbing good all day, and I come back in, you already interrupt me. But go ahead, you're up next. Stop playing and fucking go.
Oh, you conveniently didn't come in when everybody else was
screaming
and shouting. It's only my voice that you heard. The whole time when they were shouting at themselves, we never came in to hear that one. Anyway, what was I even saying? Yeah, so concrete, I think you have a hearing problem, because even my initial statement was based on the fact that sex work is slavery for most of the sex workers, but clearly there's some sex workers who aren't enslaved. So I don't know why you felt that it was in bad faith. But anyway, there's a master of bad faith, whatever. But actually, yeah. So I think what you're saying is really interesting, and I think I found this to be true as well, that there's this manufactured stigma against women who have engaged in anything that's considered to be sex work. And the whole point of that stigma is to basically keep them out of polite society and almost to depend on sex work, or to continue depending on sex work. So even if they want to change, or they don't want to do that anymore, they want to stop doing, the stigma is to prevent them from accessing normal means of employment, or just normal means of social integration, so that they're forced to be on the fringe and kind of, whether they want or they don't want to, keep having to do the sex work. And then I wanted to say that even in the parts of sex work that people think are kind of free from enslavement, so OnlyFans, for example, a lot of people see OnlyFans as a sanitized kind of prostitution or sex work, because they feel you're just in your bedroom with your tripod or whatever it is, right? And and there's nobody there coming to force you to do anything. But OnlyFans has a lot of hidden coercion. So, for instance, I've noticed this trend where a lot of the OnlyFans girls, they have boyfriends who are either photographers, or their boyfriends are the people producing their videos or something like that. And then it ends up being this weird thing where they have to give the guy a cut of what they're making. And one of the biggest OnlyFans creators, her name is Amaranth. And she's one of the few OnlyFans that was making millions and millions of dollars, from doing her hands. And Amaranth like basically broke down crying at some point, saying that like her boyfriend was forcing her to do the OnlyFans and that he was taking her money and and she was being bullied and he was taking like her money and stuff. And people were shocked because she was incredibly successful, So even when it doesn't look like there's coercion, there can be coercion there as well. But to what Ashley said, I think something that is incredibly interesting to me personally, right, is how in lots of the societies where the people will say things like, oh, prostitution makes a woman dirty, or like they'll turn up their noses towards any kind of hint of sex work, right? In a lot of those same societies, if you look at the way they go about their dating and their marriage and like their normal, quote unquote, normal relationships, a lot of it is basically prostitution, but just sanctioned. So like I hear some women like saying stuff like, oh, after you learn this sex trick, he'll be paying for like your hair and your nails, or he'll be paying for your this or your that, or he'll be paying your bills or whatever. And I'm like, do you not realize that you're describing prostitution? You're basically saying that you're going to learn like advanced sex skills in order to induce a man to start paying some of your bills. It's just roundabout prostitution, like in another weird way.
So is it prostitution?
They don't see the... Huh? What do you say?
No, it's just a joke.
Tell me, Ann. Come.
Yeah, so I was just like interested in like what Ashley was saying, because like I always thought it was hypocritical. I thought like the women who are basically, they're basically fucking men for money, but the man they're fucking for money is their husband, or the man they're fucking for money is their boyfriend. They'll turn around and be like, oh my god, like, she's dirty because she does whatever it is, OnlyFans, or because, she's like a high-end escort, or she's like a regular prostitute. They're like, oh, she's dirty, but you're also like doing sex for money. Like, what's going on?
Sugar Belly, you buried the lead. So do you agree that not all sex work is slavery?
Concrete, do you have a hearing problem?
No, maybe I have an attention problem. I was like looking at something else. Can you just tell me succinctly?
Concrete, that is what I said from the beginning. That is what I said from the beginning, Concrete.
Alright, sorry, Sugar Belly, sorry. Anyway, how you doing, Sugar Belly? You're still in the market? What do you think about that?
What do you want? Do you want to marry me? Like,
Yo, Sugar Belly.
You have
Sugar Belly.
Question 4 different times.
Sugar Belly. You know we talk about stocks and here crypto. Don't act like this is like some.
Do you want to pay my bride price?
Don't
like,
act.
That's it.
Don't act like this is. Don't act like this is some flirtation device. You get it? Flirtation device. Anyway.
My bride price is $250K. Is that what you're doing?
It's ain't that like 2 bands in America?
No, $260,000, like US dollars. No,
those are the price targets, Sugar Belly.
All right.
Yo, Sugar Belly choosing.
Come on, y'all.
$260K. Imagine buying an Audi for $250.
Man, you're out of your mind.
What kind of problem you're gonna have? You know what kind of problem
you're out of your mind.
And
you know what kind of problem you're gonna have with Sugar Belly?
Could you imagine the interest on that pussy?
And on top of that, 50,000 in gold. So 24 carats.
What's my price?
She's talking about the gold chocolate.
How much per ounce?
Yeah, that's gotta be
carats minimum. 24 carat.
Anyway, so
she said 24 carats.
She just blew us out of there. She said she wants 24.
Sugar Belly, my price would be the best investment I've ever made in my life.
How
tall are you again, Sugar Belly?
Sugar Belly.
How tall are you, Sugar Belly?
If that's your plan.
How tall are you?
I'm 6 feet tall.
Stop lying.
Okay, you know what? Wait, hang on. So I'm just going to say one thing. El Nathan, I know El Nathan in real life, so ask El Nathan how tall he is.
Nathan, is she being honest?
Wait, I didn't know y'all had.
Yeah, she is tall.
What?
Oh,
Yo,
know
y'all
being irresponsible.
Hey, y'all gotta stop saying that.
Smelly, you are being irresponsible. You should have had 1 billion babies. All of them would be NBA players.
Real shit, he ain't lying.
Y'all gotta stop talking to my queen. I don't like the way y'all speaking to my queen. Anyway,
my bad, Concrete. My bad.
We'll move out the way, Concrete. We'll move out the way.
Thank you. So, do you take anyway? Let's move.
If any of you want to get to Sugar Belly, I'm the official broker. You have to come to me.
No, Nathan, try to take a cut of my bride price.
Yeah, I need like 8%. I'm not giving you 10, just 8%.
These are Nigerians for real.
See what we gonna do is we get 6 goats.
No, I'm sorry. I'm not accepting goats. Like I'm only accepting cows, like full, unhealthy cows. Like not those.
What the fuck is this? What the fucky?
Oh,
What is that?
she hating. Look at her hating.
Oh,
she hating. Oh, she hating. I'm hating.
To learn how to shut the fuck up.
Look at them.
Fucking incel. You just fucking talk.
Oh, shit.
Like, you know what? If I was a guy, Concrete, I swear to God, if I had a fucking dick, I'll fucking have to make you my dick. You're so fucking annoying.
That's that same guava spirit.
Who is that?
Guava, don't you have that same spirit?
Who is that? That sounds like Guava little sister.
A new unlocked flavor.
You're a stem cell, and you're
See what you done did to me,
Sugar Belly? I meant incel.
Sugar Belly, see what happened now?
And you're just so weird.
Now that you finna get married.
You just talk. Are you married? Nobody could have married your bitch ass. And anyone did, you want to beat her up and rape children because you're fucking little. I feel bad for any woman that married. I'm scared of him, actually. He wants to beat me up. I'm scared. I'm scared of him. I don't have a dick, so you should.
Concrete, don't say anything else. This is kind of weird.
Wait, what's going on? Do you
y'all can go into the back channel.
She just got here. This is her first day here.
You guys can go
I do not know her.
private.
Look at Carolyn hating.
To a back channel.
You see what happened now that they know we're going to get married?
Move on from the conversation, because I don't want to hear that. And
we know. Stop being Tally. You're not a good Tally. You like Tally.
The rest of the ones don't want to hear that.
Where's Tally?
The rest of the ones is not.
I think she's on TikTok.
New niggas.
Let's just say it's a good thing she's here. Thank God.
We don't want to hear about a gorilla climbing a tree. Can we move on?
Yes, motherfucking D.
She also said you're weird.
Sugar Belly, but I'm 6 feet tall too. What are your thoughts?
That's right.
We don't want to hear about.
I'm in the house.
Yeah.
Sorry.
By the way, Concrete, I appreciate you warning me that 100K last week.
No problem.
I appreciate that 4K.
Yeah. No problem, fellas.
This hype thing, right?
And that order for that king size blanket for $2,000, that really helped me out.
That surprised me. Like, I will say, something that I really found very surprising is how obsessed American women are with men's height. I found it incredibly surprising. Like, they talk about men being tall so much, and I don't understand the obsession, because a lot of American women are very short. They're like 5'5" or something like that. They're quite short. So I don't understand. Like, why
not too much on short people?
It's an obsession with their
so I think what I'm trying to survive. It makes sense for tall people to date other tall, and for short people to date their fellow short people. But the shorter they are, the more obsessed they are with tall men.
And that's a fact.
It confuses me so much.
Well, that's because tallness represents
6'1", so yeah.
Tallness represents masculinity, and it also represents dominance. So when you're tall and you are, and that is more masculine. That's why when we see tall women, they think they trannies. But
yeah, I've heard
they gotta check the anatomy.
I've heard this kind of idea from Americans as well. So that's the flip side of it, right? So I've seen Americans calling tall women masculine, and that also confused me as well, because I don't know, height has never figured into masculinity for me. And I don't. It's not a very big deal like in Nigeria. But in America, height apparently is a very big deal. So I was like, people are, I'm even seeing like men going to get surgery to break their legs and like make their legs longer to look taller.
Yeah, that's just the internet, baby girl. That ain't everyone.
Sugar Belly, there is finally something we agree on. I dated one tall guy. Not my entire dating career, which was very short. I dated one tall guy. Every time we went out, I thought he. I'm only 5'4".
Dating career.
Yeah, dating career. I got married young. I got married young. Okay, but I dated one guy that was over 6 feet, and I always felt like he was taking me on a walk. I was like, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. No, my husband's only 5'10".
Yeah, so like,
that's nice.
Like height.
Yeah, see, that's me, bro. I'm like 5'10", bro.
For me, like the only preference I have when it comes to height is just
the point is actually the guy that you married is taller than you, not that he's over 6 foot.
Yeah, but he's not that much taller.
Yeah, but she's
like, I mean, if it's too much of a height difference, it's like, dude, how do I even kiss this dude?
Exactly.
Do I get a step ladder?
Jeez, your nigga ain't in the league. He's 6'5".
I mean, so for example, like my dad is 6'3",
He can't dunk,
right? My dad is 6'3".
Yeah, he's 6'5". And
my mom is 5'8".
You're so annoying.
Your mom is 5'8".
Yeah, my mom's 5'8". My dad is 6'3", and I'm 6 feet. So I'm kind of like in between them. I'm taller than my mom. I'm shorter than my dad.
Interesting.
But with the whole height thing, I feel like the only limitation I have on height is just practicality, as Ashley said. If you're gonna get a neck problem trying to kiss this person in either direction, then it doesn't make any sense. But if the guy is the same height as me, that's fine. If he's slightly shorter than me, that's fine. If he's slightly taller than me, that's fine.
To be fair,
I don't understand it.
To be fair, Sugar Belly, with Nigerians, the average Nigerian man is a confident man, right? There are other things that make up for not having maybe the ideal physical stats.
Yeah, it's quite common to see Nigerian men short, and their wives are towering above them, and that's like very normal.
Look, King of Sugar Belly, the shorter the Nigerian man, the bigger ego.
The more he likes tall women.
Yeah. The shorter the Nigerian man, the bigger his ego. Like,
yeah,
you see a short Nigerian man, be afraid.
Sugar Belly, do you resemble Yemi Alade?
Do I? Sorry, what do you say?
Do you resemble Yemi?
No, I don't.
Oh.
Ask him if
what about Tiwa Savage?
Resembles.
What about Tiwa Savage?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know.
Sugar Belly, ask Concrete if he resembles Cedric the Entertainer.
Concrete, do you resemble Cedric the Entertainer?
No, I'm taller than him.
Okay, so and Carolyn, what like features are you trying to like compare?
I'm just trying to be shady because we're getting married.
I'm not.
No, me and you, Sugar Belly. She's mad that we're getting married.
Wait, excuse me. Wait, 1 second. How are we getting married? Did I accept bride price from you? Did you give me any gold? You haven't given me any gold, and you're telling me we're getting married. Concrete, go on Mene right now and buy me something. Go on,
girl. Listen, you can have him.
He's open-minded, and you gotta open wallet.
You can have Concrete because
open wallet, open ass.
Yeah, open wallet, open bracket.
Omicron, y'all are wild, man.
I mean, you can feed him some food.
How can you be going around
and some
food?
Wait,
number one, I hate
fufu and I hate egusi. Number two, yes. But number two, how can you be going around telling people that we're getting married? You haven't bought me anything from Mene. You haven't bought me anything from Over, right? And you have the guts to be telling people that we're getting married. Go on Mene.com or go on.
He can buy you a Starbucks drink.
Sugar Belly, you want a hand crocheted. A hand-crocheted king size blanket.
No, Ashley, no, Ashley, I don't say that way. So what I want is on Mene right now. They have a fishbone necklace. I think it's like 16 to 18 inches of pure 24 karat gold. That's what I want to start.
Man, you're blocking my pocket, Sugar Belly. You're blocking my
Just like
pocket.
an Igbo woman. Just like it.
You're blocking my pockets, okay? I'm trying to get my business going.
Hey, all right, Guava, we're gonna have to make this work, Guava.
Nigga, I never wanted you. I never wanted you.
It's very
Yo, chill, guys. Don't do that.
He can buy you a Starbucks.
Never.
I'm just saying.
I don't want you.
Look, I don't know why this person want to focus on her.
Before you kiss
I don't know why she want to focus on me. I'm talking to Sugar.
Y'all niggas.
Mad, I'm moving on, bro. Like, get your life together.
No,
don't worry about me.
Get your car together.
Cars?
Wait, is this like a lover spot?
No.
Yeah, so some woman with some weird ass obsession
No,
for fucking 6 seasons.
I'm obsession with you. You want to talk to your Sugar Belly?
Shut the fuck up.
I'll shut the fuck up.
Thank you, appreciate you.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to date an Igbo woman, you need to be ready to spend money. This is very
mentioned and really is an interesting and odd thing to me that it's not being clearly identified is that Charlie Kirk was not being targeted in the Kimmel comments. What happened is that Kimmel opportunistically, or his writers, who knows, I mean, guys, who knows if Kimmel really did the research here, right? Was opportunistically applying what Charlie Kirk did to the Republican/MAGA group. And it was just completely false. I mean, it's like blatantly false. It's actually hilariously false. I mean, this was a guy who was anti-Charlie Kirk, someone clearly conservative, Republican MAGA, and was very pro-trans, anti-Trump, and anti-conservative movement, and clearly pro-trans as that kind of the focal point. I mean, so whoever, unfortunately for Kimmel, he didn't do his due diligence because I think he's a smarter guy than that. And likely his writer just kind of fucked everyone, essentially, by being lazy and not actually realizing that Charlie Kirk was on the other side of things. So that's literally what happened. It's unfortunate for everyone because I do think, ultimately, that the government is putting the pressure in the FCC. People don't like this, and you know I'm onto something when that's the case, right? The FCC and the administration clearly put at least indirect pressure in this direction. The Nexstar acquirer of a lot of the assets out of ABC, a big deal for them, also seemingly put pressure on it. And we don't know what backdoor conversations were had. So what happened, it seems, in summary, is that this was a pressured thing. ABC would not want to do this. They had to do it, likely coming from administration pressure on down the chain. Could also be Nexstar's, I don't know, maybe they're owned by Republicans and they just were boiled their blood. And they're like, if we're going to take this guy out, if we're going to do this deal. We don't know all the details, but clearly a pressured move, and also one that is really incited by the political climate in the United States and the MAGA team and the Trump administration having the opportunity here to highlight a blatant, what looks like liberal media propaganda, right? Because unfortunately for, again, Kimmel, it was clearly incorrect to the point of libel, I believe. And he said it anyway, and I think they jumped on it and made a martyr out of him. And I agree with that too. I heard someone else say that. It was brilliant. I totally agree. This could be the best thing for Kimmel's career since, his career. Like, he could make a killing off of this financially by, getting this turmoil on his name and taking the right side of things, or the side of things that are most profitable to him. So, sorry, Marshall, I see you want to say something. And I kind of closed there too, so perfect timing.
Awesome. Marshall, do you want to go? Did you have a comment?
I don't know. It kind of sounds like we're saying, well, something shitty happened to Jimmy Kimmel, but there's going to be something real good on the other side of that. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm sure you would agree with me. Government, FCC, those folks getting involved, saying they're going to censor people, probably not the best thing in the world for free viewpoints. Right? If the government's getting involved in viewpoint discrimination, essentially saying there's one right method of behavior, and that's not to mock Charlie Kirk. I worry that verges, to say politely, into government censorship, and I'm not so sure that's the thing we want to do in our country.
Thank you, Marshall. Now, guys, I was walking, so I have Les next in the queue. Is that correct, everybody?
Yes.
All right, Les, my main man. It's your turn, my friend.
Well, I looked at what Jimmy Kimmel said, and he did not say anything bad about the assassinated guy. He merely said that the assassin, he didn't think he left-wing guy, and that this was being used to paint all the left-wing guys, and he thought he might be a right-wing guy, and it's very likely that this joke was written at the time where all that was known was that he had Republican parents, and he was a guy that went hunting with a hunting rifle, and that's not necessarily a left-wing guy. I don't know how much of this him having being insulted by trans, which I think is, and I don't know this person, but I'm assuming that's what motivated this. So I don't see what Kimmel did. He was incorrect, but frankly, 70% of the people on Clubhouse would be not able to speak if they got something wrong about breaking news, because people make assumptions, and which I would never want to see. So and I believe the question is not just free speech, but we don't want to suppress and make people afraid to speak, and to have different viewpoints. And what else is important? One other thing. Also kind of wondering, I would love to see this talked about in the chat if someone's interested. We had experiences like with the Red Scare. And, we were worried about Stalin and stuff, and he was a horrible guy. And we had suppression, especially in Hollywood and stuff, and the TV industry. And what people felt about that. You have the right of association, and on the other hand, you don't want to see talented people not being able to work and all the harm that was done there. And finally, in terms of talent, I think Colbert and Kimmel are very, very talented. And to compare them with Carson was living in an era where there were only three choices at most. ABC, the three major networks. Now there are a million choices, really a billion choices, any website, all these streaming services. And to compare their numbers doesn't have to do with their talent. However, it does say that the business model that worked before doesn't work now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Les. As always, great to see you here in other rooms. And let's go from the mighty, mighty Midwest, Meryl, welcome.
Hey, Scott, can you do me a favor?
Yeah, sure.
If you continue to moderate, could you do it in the Trump voice? That'd be great.
We're going to go to Meryl. She's a very nasty woman. Okay, very nasty. She's very nasty. She's like worse than Rosie, if you can believe that. Go ahead, Meryl.
Thank you, Howard. First of all, my son used to work for Disney corporate
finance, production finance. I tried to get hold of him all day because I wanted to know what's his take on the cost of Nightline and nighttime and all of that stuff. But he probably was avoiding this conversation, so he didn't call me back. We need to look. I would like to look at what Kimmel said in a broader sense. You know, we're hearing what he said is half of the. It's really half of what was actually happening. He said, yes, he said that that the right was the MAGA people were hoping that this guy wasn't one of them, the killer wasn't one of them. But you have to remember that the president immediately announced that this fellow was, whoever it was the far left, radical, evil left, the evil left. So he was he was actually kind of making fun of that. Regardless, he also made a mistake because to talk about that at that particular time was like talking about Jesus, because Trump had built this man up. This man, Charlie Kirk, has been built up more in death than he was in life. And it is abhorrent to begin with that he was assassinated. That is abhorrent. There's no question about it. But if you have to take it and consider your president was talking about it. Your president was blaming people, and your president put it in a political climate, put it in a political sense. And that is what Jimmy Kimmel does. I'm not going to worry about his contract because it's apparent they didn't fire him. There is some concern about what's in the contract, what's not in the contract. So they have suspended him indefinitely. So, I've worked on contracts. I know about these things. So I'm not going to be too concerned. They went to their lawyers. The lawyer said, right now, just suspend him. So that's where I sit on that. Should he have been? I think we are not being honest with ourselves if we say that there isn't some political pressure, something from higher up. We're not talking about executives, we're talking about Trump. And regarding deals and people that were going to not carry the show anymore, that also while it's a business decision, it may have been based on a political decision as well. He is somebody who has made political commentary part of his humor, whether you like it or not, don't watch. But I do believe that this is political overtones, and it is about free speech, just free speech about the wrong person. Thank you.
Thank you, Meryl. I don't know if I can do it all in the Trump voice because it takes. I gotta write material.
I prefer no Trump voice.
Yeah, okay, David. Absolutely, perfect.
Am I next on your list?
You are next, David. Thank you very much. What do you have to say?
I think we see a trend here. ABC backed down on a lawsuit that they had with Trump that they knew was very winnable. And that started a bad precedent. Maybe they had no choice, maybe in their minds, and they did have, this pending business deal coming. Sinclair, I guess, is involved with the newest one. They are basically MAGA. I guess they're a third of the deal. If you watch their stations nationwide. I don't know if I should say this. I'll wait for maybe Gary to come back, but I'm glad for him to use the word gay as in happy and reclaim it. So I found that refreshing. The Trump administration just filed a $15 billion lawsuit against the New York Times. I mean, you can't tell me that there isn't intimidation. I know Abby is in the audience, and I've got it right here. I'm sorry. There's a Supreme Court.
Which decision? I'm on stage.
Oh, good. Number 22842. It was May 30, 2024, in the NRA against Maria Vuelo. I'll read the short part here. Sotomayor found that she wrote the majority, government officials cannot attempt to coerce private parties in order to punish or suppress views the government disfavors. So that there is that precedent. And Kimmel was blatantly anti-Trump. I think he crossed the line many other times. I like him as a person. I don't think he's funny. Liked him better in some of his previous shows. But we're seeing a trend of suppression here. We know it.
We want Dr. Pepper, something like that. If you're going to get food, you got to get something like it. That's only $10 left.
I can't hear a word you say.
You guys see if he opened up by accident.
And a quarter tank of my car, so
He's talking something.
Can you mute Steve?
Hey guys, sorry. Yeah, can you mute yourself, Steve? Sorry about that.
So that's the gist of my thoughts, and I've enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you so much, David. Let's go to Odion Ware. Odion Ware, welcome to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. I wanted Gary to be here as I'm speaking because all the things happening right now are things I told he and Marshall, but it's not that I was being an alarmist. Again, this is something that I studied in University of Brisbane, Queensland, the fall of democracies. I spoke about one on the Rwandan genocide and how it started. And what Trump is doing, what the FCC is doing, interfering, cajoling, is what led to these things. I mean, these things have been done. I mean, books, articles, studies have been done on the behavior of authority. Today, Trump said that because he won the election on Air Force One, nobody has a right to mock him, and the FCC is now going to go after TV stations. So, well, Americans voted for Trump. They should be able to live with the consequences. But for me, my job is to come up every day and remind, when things like this happen, and remind Gary, I told you so. Thank you very much. I yield.
Thank you very much, Odion Ware. I appreciate it. And we come now to Linda. Linda, welcome to the stage. What do you have to say for us?
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I just want to say, I know it sounds kind of dumb, but, when I was growing up, my dad came to the country in the 80s, and he lived in a totally different country. So he used to watch with my mom, Johnny Carson, and then we, and then went on to Jay Leno and David Letterman, that whole thing. But, and there was the one guy, I forget what his name was, and he had a big lawsuit with one of them, I forget who I don't know, it was Conan. He made a bunch of money off of that lawsuit. I think it was Conan, I don't remember. But anyway, so yeah, I remember this, Johnny Carson was making jokes about the president one time. My dad freaked out. He's like, oh my God, he can't say those kind of things. He's going to be arrested. He's going to be shot. Their government's going to come after him. He's going to be in trouble. And I remember my mom said, calm down. This is America. People have freedom. We have First Amendment. We have freedom of speech. You can make fun of, you can make jokes. You can make fun of the president. You can make fun of things. And so my dad, he was like, oh, that's right. So yeah, I feel like my dad, his paranoia, I feel like I'm starting to feel that way now. It's like, you can't even have, an opinion. I don't think anything that Jimmy Kimmel said was really that offensive. He didn't he didn't make fun of Charlie Kirk. He didn't directly attack Charlie Kirk's family. I don't think anything he said was very that distasteful or inappropriate. I mean, he just said, his opinion and on who the killer and the shooter was and where they were from. I think because Trump has sued various media outlets, he's now suing the New York Times. He's sue happy. I think that's what ABC is afraid of. I think they're definitely scared of, there could be a lawsuit. I think they're money, and it's what they can do for a money grab. And then I do think that these broadcasting companies, there's political MAGA and various conservatives or whatever, different political views, and I think they're on I think people right now are on a political witch hunt. If you say anything about Charlie Kirk that people don't agree with, they're on a political witch hunt about it, and it's pretty ridiculous. I read the article by Sinclair Broadcasting, what they're demanding. They're demanding that Jimmy Kimmel issue a formal apology to Charlie Kirk. They're also demanding that he give Charlie Kirk's family money. I mean, it's crazy. This is America. I feel like people should be able to state their opinions. and I'll say this last thing. I mean, things that Charlie Kirk said weren't always, the nicest things about certain groups of people. He said some things that I was like, wow, that's really kind of evil. But I had to sit and listen to it and grin and bear it, and I had the option to change the channel, change YouTube, listen or watch something else. So I just feel like, how can he sit there and he's allowed to say all these things, but then another person wants to make a commentary and they can't? And the last thing I want to say is, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but there's currently a petition going on. It's a growing petition to punish South Park because they made an episode about Charlie Kirk before he died. And South Park already pulled the episode from their reruns. Comedy Central has pulled the episode out of their reruns, but the episode aired like August 6th. This was before he died. He watched the episode himself and said it was funny because I watched that commentary Charlie Kirk made. And it's still streaming on the Paramount Plus platform, but there's nothing South Park I don't think can really do about that, or either could Comedy Central if it's still streaming on a platform. That would be up to Paramount Plus to remove it. But yeah, there's people that want South Park canceled. I just think people are going way too far with this, and I definitely think Trump's influence is just going way too far. People should be able to have an opinion. This is America, and it's becoming like a fascist dictatorship, and that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Linda. I really appreciate your contribution. And let's go to Ben. Ben, welcome to the stage. How are you? What do you have to say?
Hey, real quick, Scott, did I make it back in enough time? I thought Gary was leaving. I didn't want to lose my spot. I thought he had to close the room.
Yeah, you're good. You're good, Chris. We'll put you in the queue. All right. Because you were here before. No problem, buddy. Go ahead, Ben.
So if anything, the person, whatever Kimmel said, the person that should be offended should not really be the Kirk's family, but rather Trump himself. I think that whole, if you watch the video, that whole context of this so-called offending speech, I think he was ridiculing Trump's reaction or response when reporters were asking him, how do you feel, after, this Kirk happened, he was shot. And then he just drifted into saying, "Oh, I'm doing good. We're building this wonderful ballroom. Blah 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 blah. It's a great chandelier." I think Kimmel was really ridiculing mostly the response by Trump, being seemingly a bit of a cavalier and drifting away from the topic that he was asked. Basically, his response and his emotions after Charlie Kirk was murdered. So I think that was the gist of it. And if I look at the actual words of what maybe the FCC Brandon Carr was referring to, that he said something offensive to Kirk, he or his family, or disrespect, he was basically saying, I'm reading this really short paragraph. We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from it. So if this were in the court of law and one side was arguing that he was denigrating Kirk, or saying that the alleged murder was one of the MAGA gang, this could be a really interpretation, because honestly, if you were to really accuse Kimmel of smearing the MAGA gang, if you will, I think he's not really saying that this alleged shooter is a MAGA, but rather he's saying that the MAGA crowd is trying to push this person away from their crowd, if you will. I think that's what he's accusing, if you will. So there's very little in my mind that the FCC should find this as disrespectful of Kirk's family, or insightful, or anything to that. So anything basically in the public interest that Brandon Carr mentioned. So I think there's a very, very weak argument to say that the FCC needs to step in if the stations, the networks, don't do anything about Kimmel, because Kimmel had said something drastically evil that would hurt the public interest. The thing that I wanted to, a lot of people have mentioned a lot of good points. I think the First Amendment angle, I still think it's important because we really do believe, not even for comedians, even from newscasters, they have a large, fairly higher threshold of being held as against the law for things that they say, because we do want to set a relatively high, high bar rather, or at least give them leeway to express themselves as journalists, free of constraints, if other than violating laws that are strictly prohibiting like incitable violence, yelling fire in the crowded theater, etc., etc. And then in the case of comedians, I think they should be entitled to even more. They really should be able to ridicule, make fun of the political figures and political phenomena or movements without the fear that they can be pulled off air or punished. But other than that, I think there's one other angle that I wanted to add to this conversation, which is that, remember, this is before FCC issued any rulings taking away licenses, which they probably can't really do, or any court order NBC to stop Kimmel. It's before any of that happened. It's actually the companies, the employers preemptively doing this. In fact, the word preemptive was used in the news report for putting Kimmel indefinitely in suspension. So I think, to me, this is even more concerning, because if this were there was a court challenge of FCC's action, that's one thing that a federal judge could issue based on, constitutional First Amendment right, that the FCC had done something wrong. But this is before that. The companies themselves, ostensibly for the purpose of their business dealings, as in trying to gain favor from FCC to allow them to buy stations or to make exceptions to the whatever the 39% rule of ownership, that they themselves are doing this. So that they're sort of doing the bidding of the government in terms of restricting speech. And I think nowadays, with technology being such an integral part of our lives, we should be more aware that First Amendment doctrine or previous case laws, maybe they need to be updated in modern days to understand the power of these private companies regulating speech themselves, ostensibly for private purposes, but in fact it's impacting the everyday citizens' way of life and freedom of speech via the comedians or news broadcasters. So I think that's even more concerning to me. And if this trend continues under the current administration, where law firms are capitulating, stations are paying out, $50 and $60 million settlement, even though they may have a fairly decent chance of winning in court of law if this will come before a federal judge for final resolution, I think that will impact our way of life much further than any particular comedian or even administration. I would think that this is a platform that we should be, all of us, voters or not, should make it known that we want to defend our right to freedom of speech and be aware of the power of private companies, sort of in cahoot with the small government. To me, what this administration has done is really not a standard typical of philosophy of small government, but rather they're pretty looming large in our lives with their actions, direct or indirect. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you so much, Ben. Appreciate your contribution to the conversation. And let's go to my dear friend, Abby. Abby, welcome to the stage.
Thank you. So first of all, to just clear up a couple things Ben said, which I wasn't even going to talk about. You absolutely can yell fire in a theater as long as it's not an untruth. Scott. If there happens to be a fire in a theater, you better yell it. It's only when it's an untruth that it is not protected. With respect to his other comment, which is the prior restraint that he's claiming for the Preemptive Act, these are private companies. It's already been litigated in front of the Supreme Court with respect to how much government regulation is going to attach to these companies. We had the case, what was it, last year or the year before with Twitter. So, I mean, I would argue not for more government and more government involvement, especially in the private sector. I actually was coming up to talk about one of the companies involved because I know them extremely well. I've had many contractual deals with them, and I know the senior management of the company. And I also understand how the market share works with ratings and with sponsors. And you really have to look at, first of all, Sinclair and Nexstar. First of all, Sinclair actually had the deal to buy Tribune as they spun off the actual newspaper, and Tribune was going to sell those stations. And that was during the Trump administration, 2018, and the FCC didn't come to their side. Sinclair ended up not doing the deal, lost a lot of money in the transaction. Shareholders took a bite with that. And now Nexstar picks up the same deal, basically, to come in and saturate the market and own and go over the monopoly number of ownerships of these affiliate stations. These I can speak to Sinclair, which is a conservative company. David Smith is conservative, although on his board he has Democrats and outspoken Democrats. He has a mix on his board. Also in his senior management, there's a mix. But it is a conservative-leaning company, and it's their choice if they want to air different syndications or different TV shows or not. And I really think you have to look at the business decisions that they made, and also what Nexstar made. And it also has to do with viewership. I said this in another room. Steve was in the room with me. It was a big stage, and I asked how many people on the stage actually watch regular network TV, because most of these late night shows were a result of people that were tuning in for the 11 o'clock local news in their cities, and then they naturally would go on to the late show. And the viewership on the evening news is, they're winning with a 2 to a 3 point share in ratings when it used to be 12 to 15 points. I mean, it's just dropped substantially, and sponsors have dropped. These stations make their money during the election cycles. It's considerable money, especially with PAC money, which is so much more than when the candidate themselves is buying the airtime. So I think those are all their business factors, and that coupled with these companies not making their choice. And yes, could it be that they want to gain favor with the FCC? Perhaps that's the reason Nexstar made that choice. However, that's a business choice of a company, of a private company. So that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you so much, Abby. Always great to see you. And let's go to Chris. Chris, welcome to the stage. What do you have to say?
Hey, what's going on, Howard and Alan? For the recorded page in this room, please send my wishes to Gary directly. Thank you, recording. Let's get to the topic. Should Kimmel have been suspended? Well, obviously not. Again, another overreach from our administration. The sensitive bunch, I guess. I sure hope you're looking down, because we ain't going quiet, we go screaming. The people who told us that the liberals were crying liberal tears. Very crazy to witness people try to make sense of it as if they had any sense of what type of rating it should. Charlie, I don't know if you can see us now. Prior to yesterday. Like, this wasn't a topic, so with everybody digging and filing for research and analysis and ways to conform the vision for what they believe. Charlie, I don't know if you can see us now, but if heaven has a window. I will say it in my words, idiotic, Charlie, but impressive. And the reason I say it's idiotic because we don't have to reach that far to make this shit make sense. The man stated that Charlie Kirk's death was bad. We all agree. Nobody needs to be assassinated, shot, whatever. We can go the whole route. We all know the spiel that we're all supposed to say here. But that wasn't what was funny about that show. what was funny about that joke was that he told the American people that Donald Trump reacted to Tony Kirk's set like a 4-year-old who just
Dude,
wants
this
to
guy's
go.
whack. Your show sucks, dude. Because
That is a quality comedic joke at the highest level. Why? Because the video that he showed prior to that was exactly that of a child, no disrespect to the president, excuse me, of a man who obviously seemed to not care or give a fuck about what happened yesterday. Hey, listen.
Dude, this.
I'm all right. Hey, Mr. President, how are you feeling about Charlie Kirk knowing that he was going to pray? I'm good. However, look at all them trucks over there. See that stuff I told you I was building in the backyard? That's going up right now. You asked me about
Jesus
that.
rebukes you.
Got all that cement in them, man. We about to put that ballroom together like we planned. Now, yes, I'm paraphrasing a lot of that. I made a lot of that up for the entertainment of this conversation. But that is exactly what that man did on national TV after being asked about a tragic death that just happened days ago. So what Jimmy Kimmel stated was probably the closest fact of truth that we've gotten out of anybody in the last few days. The man actually did not give a damn anymore about the conversation about Charlie Kirk. Basically the same amount of not give a fucks that he had about the Epstein file, if we're being honest. So yeah, witnessing him use the FTC as his battering ram to people attacking or making him feel less than who he is. It's sad because we shouldn't be able to, again, this is just another instance of the administration overreaching in categories that should be bipartisan. And the people that are supposed to be bipartisan in those categories actually just saying, I'll bend the knee. For whatever reason, if that's just loyalty or you have something over me, we don't know. We don't know why he keeps winning lawsuits against television networks for basically nothing. Why they're paying out specifically for basically nothing. I use basically to hold a lot of weight here because I don't want to go into details of what they've been sued for. But the same goes with the Jimmy Kimmel. Hey, you need to accept an apology and you need to donate to the charity. That sounds like a shakedown in my eyes because he never said anything to disrespect Charlie Kirk's death. But we watched the shakedown now for going on 10 months. Since the president took office, we've literally watched the shakedown of America. Company, organization, hell, our museums are being shook down now. Next will be the American people. Maybe we were the first because he told us that he would get the prices down, and we completely forgot about that, or at least his base did, while he threw everything out at us and told us we were all supposed to pay attention to the other issues. So back to the topic. Should Kimmel have been suspended? No. It would be foolish to keep trying to make reasons around network TV dying. Hey, somebody's watching. I Googled it. They said the highest ratings are between 7 and 11 on all national television. That still leaks into Kimmel still having some baseline or base of the TV slot. And realistically, yet nobody watches TV, but everybody sees clips. So yeah, TV may have a loss leader, but TV also shouldn't be all for profit. Because if it's all for profit, that basically just tells us